Yeah.
Baby mama terrorist. BMT. It's my baby mama. I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in coke. It's my baby mama. She be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies and doing setup. It's my baby mama. I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in coke. It's my baby mama. She be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies and doing setups. It's my baby mama. I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in coke. It's my baby mama. She be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies and doing setups. It's my baby mama. I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in coat. It's my baby mama, she be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies, and doing setups. Riding around, gotta play the role, Miss Innocent with an evil soul. In public, wearing fake hellos, behind closed doors, she rock them horns. I moved on, she wanna teach me a lesson. Can't see my kids, man, I'm stressing. Couldn't see my son to give me his present. She got married to teach me a lesson. Telling people she did nothing wrong, knowing that well since I moved on. Thought that money would keep me home. Hell no, bitch, I'm gone. I don't know if you lost your mind. I say my name, but I know your kind. Saying I'm a deadbeat, bitch, you lying. Fighting in court, man, I'm trying to be a father to my kids. She focus on the wrong shit, worried about another being instead of us co-parenting. Put my kids in grown folks' business, telling them lies, bitch, you wicked. Split personality, oh yeah, you twisted. Never thought I'd go through this. It's my baby mama, I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in coat. It's my baby mama, she be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies, and doing setups. It's my baby mama, I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in coat. It's my baby mama, she be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies, and doing setups. It's my baby mama, I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in coat. It's my baby mama, she be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies, and doing setups. It's my baby mama, I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in coat. It's my baby mama, she be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies, and doing setups.
All stand, please. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. The Solemn Court now stands adjourned, sine die. God save the state and this honorable court.
Yeah. Y'all may be seated up in this motherfucker. Shout out to the baby mama Terry's Bounty Hunters. I'm your host, Mr. Palmer. And what we're going to talk about today is going to be a good interview. A great interview is going to be. And we know him as the Notorious Dad, Caleb Leverett. The reason why they call him the Notorious Dad because he exposed the baby mama terrorism. He exposed the court system. He exposed a lot of different things when it came to this system that's supposed to be for equal parenting time. It's supposed to be for what's right, the best interest for the child. But unfortunately, it's not it. It's been lies. It's not true. It's only about a $51 billion business that they receive every year in America. We saw about a whole week about the tribes and tribulations that he'd been going through years ago. First, we start off with Parker, who was 14 years old at the time that wanted to stay with his dad because he's going through a lot of bullshit and turmoil over at the baby mama Tara's house. And not only just the baby mama Tara's, you also have the sympathy force of Jason, aka stepdad. They want to jump to a bitch's defense. And not only that, in Texas, this is in Texas, y'all. At 12 years old, you have the right to say, I want to stay with the mom or I want to stay with the father. Yes, that's true. Most states is 13, 14 years old, and you think that's it. And that's why I tell y'all, yeah, it sounds good. They tell you that, but it's the discretion of the judge. When it's all said and done, they say, I would take that into consideration when I decide to make my ruling. And guess what happens? He went to the courts. He told the lawyers and the judges and his own lawyer, I want to stay with my dad. I want to live with my dad. I don't want to be there. And guess what happened? The judge saw it was the best interest of the child that he go back and stay with the mother. And then 4 years later, he have another son by name of Blaine who's running away off and on. Rather stay out there in the streets, rather stay over at a friend's house, rather be with his dad, but unfortunately can't because his dad's 4 hours away, 5 hours away. And got to the point where he's getting arrested 2 or 3, 4 times, to the point they decided to take him to one of them psych wards because it must be something wrong with him that he want to continue to run away from the bullshit that he's going through. You can't make this shit up. So y'all saw a whole week of this bullshit you call family court. That's about both parents. That's about the best interest of the child. And we, as we already been said, that is not. And you go on his platform, he's been talking about this for years. He's been locked up numerous times, not because he robbed the bank, not because he did some terroristic shit, but because he's fought to be a father. All because he wanted to be in his children's lives. All because fell in divorce. All because she still can't get over him. She's still mad. So, the typical shit that I talk about, these baby mama terrorists. And somebody told him about me doing a reenactment to the videos, and he even watched it a couple of times. And thanks to Julius Mays, he reached out to Caleb on Instagram, and he said he was delighted to come on the show. Because when it's all said and done, yes, it happened like over 8 years ago, but a lot of y'all need to know this ain't just start happening when it comes to alienation and fathers' rights 5 years ago. This has been going on for many years. Back when he started recording, we didn't have a YouTube live. We didn't have actually, when his son Blaine was involved, that's when Facebook Live started coming out. They didn't have Instagram Live. They didn't have, like I say, YouTube Live, stuff like that. But he had that camera recording what was going on because he didn't want to deal with the bullshit from the police. And he didn't want to deal with the bullshit when it comes to the baby mama terrorists and the simple force. See, so he had evidence, and he was telling the stories when he was told, don't tell them stories. Don't put it out there. It's not good for you. Nah, it's not good for you, family court. No, it's not good for you, baby mama terrorist. No, it's not good for you, simp enforcer. And this is why I tell you as men, you must definitely spread awareness. You must tell your story. This is the downfall that could happen to you if, one, you have kids with the wrong person. Two, you get married to the wrong person. And three, when y'all go through a failed relationship or failed divorces. This system is not about what's right and what's best interest of the child. But people get mad at me because I say fuck child support. When in actuality, child support is the reason why all this bullshit go on. For example, the most suicide rates when it comes to alienation and child support, white men. Number one. Number two, Indian. This is the reason why a lot of fathers not allowed to be fathers, because this system, not because they didn't want to be fathers. This is why majority of men, 85%, if not 90%, are non-custodial fathers. This is why they deem that the mother be the most best fit, because it's the most benefit to government daddy, which is his $51 billion business. And it's unfortunate that the majority of society will tell you, nah, that's not the reason why he didn't get custody. It's because he didn't fight hard enough. It's because he didn't want to be a father. It's because he abandoned his family. It's because he left us. You know that old saying that y'all been hearing all your life. So that's why I continue to do what I do. And to let y'all know, when it comes to family court, it's a gender-biased system. They don't give a damn what color you is. White, black, Indian, Latino, Japanese, doesn't make a difference. Anywhere where the feminist ideology runs society, that's when a man gets screwed. So this is why I didn't beg him, but this is why I'm so pleased that he came on this platform, because y'all need to hear from the horse's mouth. You saw the videos. Now you can hear from the horse's mouth on what he went through going in and out of jail, and still continue to fight and do what he's supposed to do as a man. But the sad part about it is, because of what all the shit he went through, you got people still calling him deadbeat. You piece of shit. It's your fault. Can't say your mama black because he ain't black. They tell me that. My mama black. So you just can't make this shit up. And it's sad that a lot of these simple forces, the reason why they side these baby mama terrorists, one, because they didn't have a father in their life. And they believe what they baby mama terrorist said, that he didn't want to be there for you. 9 times out of 10. That's majority, not all. So that's why they come to these bitches' defense. And this is why they be set up for failure when they go through the same bullshit that we go through. So I appreciate y'all tuning in today. It's going to be an interesting interview and show. And before I get started, I want to give a shout out to people that's in the comments, and we'll definitely go from there. Let's see who we got up in here. We got my boy Happy Universe. Shout out to you. That's my brother Yoga from ATL, who goes to DR back to the ATL. Get your passport, gentlemen. We got to give a shout out to Point 5 that's up in here. We got Angry Bus Drive up in here. We got BMT Bounty Hunter. We got Space Kitchen Podcast. Shout out to my brother from where my brother from? My brother is from North Carolina. He got his own line of business. He went through the trial and tribulation when it comes to trying to be a father. And he decided to keep his veins cold and change the law in his mind. Now he got his own business doing bakery and stuff like that with edibles. And he's licensed, bonded, LLC. Y'all need to subscribe to him on Instagram at Space Kitchen Podcast. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to my boy Clan Killer 187 up in here. We got Jaylon up in the building, the brother who's 20 years old, going to college, no kids, not married, and possibly going to the military. Shout out to Jaylon. We got Jesse from Facebook. Appreciate you joining in, my brother. We got Game of Lives Matter, the bailiff, up in the building. We got C up in here. We got my boy Vernon Freeman from Facebook. Appreciate you tuning in. We got the Bill 5000 up in here. We got Evanston. We got Face Facts from New York. We got MPI from the Dirty South. We got Perverted at Best. We got Chief Cook from Tennessee, former chief of Memphis, Tennessee, over 35 years. Shout out to you, Chief Cook. We got Call for President Anthony. We got what else we got here? We got Honey69. Appreciate you, sister, for joining. We got Fire Flame all the way from Texas. Shout out to Miss Fire Flame. We also got who else we got here? We got Anthony Cole. We got my boy Lawrence all the way from Montana. Shout out to you, brother. And shout out to everybody else that's up in here. We got 105 people on YouTube. Y'all definitely hit the likes. Definitely share the video. If you're on Facebook, hit the likes and please share the video. We want to spread it out here for the world to see, because this shit been going on for too long and men being quiet. We cannot continue to be quiet. But if y'all continue to be quiet, I'm going to continue to run my mouth anyway. And we got Lou Business up in here, and appreciate you coming in, my brother. So, without further ado, got to bring the brother up in here from Texas, who's now gone further south, the notorious dad, who definitely got a story to tell, been there, done that, and y'all need to take heed to what y'all listen to. So, without further ado, I want to bring in my brother, Caleb Leverett. Shout out to you, my brother.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Palmer. I'm honored to be here. I watched your about 30 minutes of your coverage of the original Parker movie, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and so I sent the link to my friend in California, a fellow YouTuber, Dwayne at DSD, and told him about it. I said, watch this guy. He's like raw, like really, really raw, and he's not wrong. And he said, and he texted me back a few minutes later. He said, "Oh my God, he's covering Parker versus the Man." I said, I gotta go. So I sat there and watched your entire coverage of Parker versus the Man. And Mr. Palmer, I haven't watched that video in years. That was by far the absolute worst day of my life. That was the beginning of my alcohol abuse. And I watched you, and it brought back obviously a lot of memories, and your commentary and your encouragement. It for whatever reason, it struck a nerve with me, and I thank you for that. I think I needed to feel that crap, because I'm obviously trying to move on, and I am moving on. And before anybody jumps to conclusions, my kids and I are fine. Everybody's great, but that is just PTSD is just a real thing. And that was the worst day of my life. And it's hard for me to watch it, but I'm glad people watch it. There's a reason I'm an activist, because like I tell people all the time, what happened to me, what happened to my kids, and what you've said 1,000 times, it's not unique at all. It's normal. It happens all the time. The difference is I happened to catch it, a lot of footage of it just by holding my camera. And again, thank you for having me on. I didn't mean to be so long-winded on the intro, but it meant a lot to me. I'm not gonna lie, I started crying like a baby.
No, speak your mind, brother. No, that's why you're here. You be long-winded. You telling your story. So I definitely appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you understanding where I'm coming from, because a lot of people pretend like they don't understand. They know exactly why I say what I say. But people tend to deflect and make excuses and try to shame you for calling all this shit out. I want to go back to what you said. You said that, well, let me ask you this. Why do you call yourself, or you say people gave you the name Notorious Dad? Where did that come from?
I can just barely hear you. It was great at first, and then I can just barely say it again.
I said, how did you get the name Notorious Dad?
Where did I get the name Notorious Dad?
Yeah.
Ironically, in jail, in the Exeter County Jail. I don't know if you've ever been to jail, but it's true. A lot of things in the movies are bullshit, but a lot of things are true. They always ask, "What are you in for?" And I'd already made up my mind. I'm going to just tell them the truth. I'm in here for being a good dad, and I stood by it. And of course, nobody believed me. No, really, Lever, what are you in here for? I said, I'm not kidding. Civil contempt of civil court for being a good dad. And they still didn't believe me. And the rumors, people talk in jail, and the guards would talk to the inmates, and some of them actually somewhat quasi made friends. And one of the guards that I know for sure, he was the guy that watched me. I was I hadn't thought about this in so long. The guy that watches the inmates that aren't violent. There's a name for it. Peppermints. We wore green and white stripes.
Non-offense? Is it non-offense?
Well, I'm sorry. There's a name for it. I'll think of it anyway. Mm-hmm. He went home, and he's an old man. He's a former Army. I believe he's an Army Ranger. His name's Conrad. Everybody just called him Conrad. And he went home, and after talking to me, and watched my videos. He watched the Parker movie, watched Parker versus the Man, and a few others. And he came back, and he was talking to the fellow inmates, and basically said, "Yeah, no shit. Leverett doesn't deserve to be here. I saw it with my own eyes. It's civil contempt of civil court." And from then on, it was once the inmates heard that, they're like, most of the guys in there are just cool as hell anyway. There's a few weirdos, obviously, but most of them they're cool, or in there for drug offenses, just bullshit charges, other child support people. And no, I wasn't in there for child support, even though that's what they wrote down in the box. But once they heard that, they're like, "Oh, well, that's a credible source." Our own guard went and saw it, and we were sitting around playing cards one day, and somehow the notorious B.I.G. came up in conversation. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know much about him. I knew of him just because that was of my era, but I just didn't know much about him. And they just started calling me the Notorious Dad as a joke. Well, I just thought, you know what? I'm not embarrassed for being here. That's what they want. That's what the other opposition wants. That's what they do. They hold your kids out in front of you and they dangle it. And then if you step out of line, if you don't pay up, if you're a little late, if you piss them off, if you're having a bad day, whatever, they'll yank you away, and they know it'll hurt. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't ashamed for being in there at all. And so I went with it. As soon as I got out of jail, I didn't come out with my head down. I didn't come out in shame. I came out and just talked about it. Hey, fresh out of jail. And in fact, 2 weeks after I got out of jail, I've got a video where I would just right off the bat, I knew I had to drive from Odessa to San Antonio to get my kids. I knew I hadn't seen them in almost 3 months. I knew they wanted to see me. I knew it. The rest of the world may not have known that, but that's just part of the problem is people stay quiet when this stuff happens. So I just decided, one of the few videos I have, I put my camera, my phone up in the top of my RV and pulled up to the front of their mother's house and picked them up. and that's the name of, fresh or 60, picking up the kids after 60 days in jail. And I didn't want to tell them, not to deceive them, but I wanted their real reaction to be caught. I wanted, maybe they were happy to see me, maybe they weren't. I thought they were. I knew they were going to see me because my kids, just as much then as we are now, we were tight. Like, I never missed a visitation with my kids. And before I go any further, I've always had a problem with the term visitation. To be reduced to a fucking visitor. Right. I'm their father. I'm not a visitor. And I think that's part of the brainwashing, part of the programming. They know there's a lot of money when half of a country gets divorced. Oh, we got a problem there. Okay, we got two people fighting over, well, let's create a whole court around this. And they know what's going to yank your chain. They know what's going to hurt you. And so they call me a visitor. I mean, I go along with it sometimes in conversation because sometimes it's just hard to explain all that. But I've always had a big problem with being called a visitor, like the visitation schedule, the standard possession order of Texas. And anyway, other than being thrown in jail, I never missed a visitation with my own children, except when the family court threw me in jail for being a good dad. It's the most circular, fucked up logic anyone can ever create. But
I want to ask you, how many times have you been to jail due to?
Technically and realistically, twice. I've only been arrested once. I was only convicted once. To this day, nobody knows. Not even my lawyers can tell me what I was convicted of.
Wow.
But technically, I went to jail in the end of April of 2014. It's starting to run together now. I was found guilty. They arrested me right in front of my mother. Bless her heart, she was there for me. She was the only one that day. And that was on a Friday. And I bailed out the following Monday because, courts, they're too busy to work on Saturdays and Sundays like us peons have to. Right. But the kicker of it was, I honestly, first of all, I didn't think Parker was going to be taken away from me in the first place. And then I really didn't think I was actually going to jail for it. But both of my lawyers at the time even assured me. One of them's about my age. One of them's his own father-in-law. Seasoned guys. I mean, they've been around as long that they assured me, look me in the eye, Caleb, you're not going to jail. I mean, you'll get a slap on the wrist, but whatever. It is what it is. But you're not going to jail. So I honestly did not think I was going to jail. Fridays that's when I pick up my kids. Back then. Right. I lived in an RV that you see in my video there called, anyway, I had my 30-foot motorhome, as a 20-year-old motorhome, out in the parking lot of the courthouse with their dog, with the kids' clothes, with their toys. That was the closest thing I could come up with to bring home to them. I literally parked it in there with my dog, ready to go. I thought I was getting to court, take the slap on the wrist, whatever, and then I was going to drive the 4 hours or 5 hours to San Antonio. I never made it. They hauled me off to jail right then and there. So I went to jail, spent the weekend, bailed out the following Monday, paid a $2,500 some kind of bond. I forget what it's called. Anyway, I never got the $2,500 back. I got out and I appealed. So I appealed to Eastland. That's the appellate court in Texas. That took like 6 months or 4 months. It took a long time. And then they said, it's going to cost you money, Caleb, but what do you want to do? Do you want to appeal to the Texas Supreme Court? I said, can I do that? I didn't know. I was ignorant about this. They said, oh, yeah, you can do it. There's no guarantee they'll hear it, but you can try. So I said, well, at least try, because that would at least buy me a little more time to get my ducks in a row and get to work, because I was self-employed in the oil field at the time. So they appealed to the Texas Supreme Court, and the Texas Supreme Court, in a nutshell, said, Mr. Leverett, since your penalty, your conviction is less than 6 months in jail, we don't have time for you. You don't have a choice but to either go back to jail and serve out your remaining 56 days, or you can appeal it to the United States Supreme Court and good luck with that. Nobody ever knows how any of the justices on the United States Supreme Court pick cases, much less I couldn't afford it. I was already broke. So that was my option, and I had no choice, but I had to go turn my unhappy ass back into the Ector County jail there in Ector County, Texas, and serve out my remaining 56 days.
And that's what I want to understand. You said you didn't know what you charged with.
Sir?
You said you didn't know what you charged with.
To this day, I don't know what I'm charged with. To this very day, it's that Judge James L. Rex. He started to say, I remember he kept trying to say what he's charging me with, and my lawyers were objecting. And again, I don't remember exactly what they would always object. That's not a charge. That's not technical. But Your Honor, it's right here. You can't charge him for that because he abided by it. His divorce decree specifically said he was to return all 4 children to that address at exactly 2:00. We've got the video that he returned them. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He did not break the order. And that judge, personally, I think he's paid off because that's rich oil. That's oil country. That judge, he kept saying things and my lawyer would object. And he finally spouted off whatever it is he spouted off, reworded our divorce decree on the fly, and to make it look like I broke whatever it is he wrote down. I didn't forcibly kick him out. He couldn't say you must beat, if you return the children, you must beat them. He knew he couldn't say that. You must return your children and beat them to get out. He knew he couldn't say that, but he didn't know how. I knew where the line was going to be months before in the beginning. I knew there was a line. I knew what it said, and I knew I could go right up to that line and not cross it, and I didn't. But they wanted a conviction. They didn't want the humiliation. The previous judge, Judge Whalen, had already recused himself because of the anonymous people that made the YouTube threatening. It's not on YouTube anymore, but back then it was. But he'd already been recused. He got humiliated. And they were going, I'm convinced, I can't prove it. I'm convinced though that they knew they were going, they were told, those judges were told, convict this guy and shut him up. And that's what they did. They shut me up, which again comes back to what you were talking about when you first, in your opening line, men don't speak up. And there's a good reason they don't, because look at you, look at me, look what they do to us when we speak up. Something is natural and pure as a father wanting to be involved with his kids, something that basic, wholesome, pure, they will slap you down if you buck the system. And that's why so many people don't do it, because I lost my entire, outside of my kids, I lost my entire family over this ordeal.
I want to ask you something. Are you on the StreamYard and YouTube?
Am I on? Say it again.
Is you on the StreamYard link and the YouTube I sent you? Is you on both, or you just on the StreamYard?
I'm just on that link that you sent me. I don't.
Okay. Hold on for a second. Let me see something.
Forgive my ignorance.
No, I don't think it's you.
It says I'm on the show. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, it might be me. I don't think it's you. I want to give a shout out to you, Jesus May, for the donation. Glad you're here to tell your story. Storming here, so the stream going in and out. Yeah, it is. Shout out to you, brother. So,
Okay.
when you say you had to serve time, was that was after the Parker situation?
The third time?
Oh, was that when you had to do time for that false allegation? Was it when you dropped that situation with Parker?
Yes, sir. That was only with Parker. So to answer your question, that was the long answer, but yes, twice. One conviction, bailed out, had to go finish it. So there, I was there twice.
I don't know what's going on. But so how long was you married before you got divorced?
I was married to the kid's mother for 10 years.
10 years.
Yes, sir.
And you was married first, then had kids.
Technically, yes. We didn't know it at the time. I'll just be real honest. I married her. We married twice. I married her the first time, July 1st, 1997. Yes, you can go ahead and laugh. And I married her the second time, July 1st, 1998. True story. That's how naive and stupid I was.
What made you get married twice?
Do you want the real truth? Because sometimes I get real honest with people, and I cross some lines that they're like, whoa, I was with you there, Caleb, until you start talking about that. Now you lost me. And I'm not talking shit about anybody that's this way, but the reason I did it was religion. I was raised in a Baptist family. I was raised that God doesn't like divorce. I was raised Jesus watches over me. Jesus listens to me. I raised my own children that way. I believed all that stuff. And then I'd started questioning my religion when I got divorced. But that day that they took my son away from me and ripped my heart out of my chest and threw it on the ground, that was the day I made up my mind. There either is no God, or if there is a God, he's a fucking asshole for doing such terrible. And again, I'm not trying to offend people, because I know there's a lot of religious people that watch your show. A lot of my friends, most people are religious to some degree, and I guess I could say I'm spiritual. There probably is some kind of God or creator that would make sense to me. And if there is an afterlife, I certainly hope that I was at least a good enough person while I was here to deserve to be such a place. But the idea that there is a God and humans are smart enough to figure it out and write it all down thousands of years ago, passed along through 20 centuries of more human beings being in charge of what's in that so-called book without it being manipulated, it's slim to none. I see how manipulation happens while I'm alive. I see how the family courts portray me and portray you and millions of other people just like us as deadbeats. And it's simply not true. So to me, the idea that what happened all those years ago is exactly perfectly without error written down in a book, passed down, and I'm supposed to believe that. So back to why I remarried after I got divorced. I was born naive. I believed the bullshit. I was raised by otherwise good people, but it was pounded in them too, that religion stuff. God hates divorce. If you honor your mother and your father. I get thrown those Bible verses at me all the time. You shouldn't have got divorced. God says you're supposed to honor your father and your mother. You shouldn't have let your son talk to your mom like that. And they love throwing those Bible verses at me, but when I throw them back, so many people get mad at me. And I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel. That's why I remarried. I thought God wanted me to do it.
I do understand. So y'all got divorced the first time, and then y'all got remarried.
Yes. Anybody can do the math. When we got remarried July 1st, 1998, Parker was born the following March of the next year, 1999.
Okay. So
Parker was already on the way. We just didn't know it at the time.
I understand. So the reason why I'm asking is people say, well, you won't be going through this if you would have got married and did it the right way. And you did it the right way, and you still went through the same bullshit with your sister.
The right way.
Right. Okay. I want to give a shout out to Gamers Lives Matter for the $5 donation. He said, I'm thinking I'm speaking for everyone. Is the jury of the chat. We definitely appreciate you for taking out your time to share your story. Thank you. That's to you, Caleb.
Gamer Lives, thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words.
Also want to give a shout out to Beta Male Police. Tell Caleb to find his YouTube and turn off the volume. We need classic LOL.
I like his name, Beta Male Police.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got some very loyal fans that are very, very creative, and I'm sure they're not just fans. I know they're some of your friends and maybe even coworkers, but I've seen some of these names keep popping up, and they're brilliant. I love the creativity.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hold on a second. Let me make sure it's not me. Hold on for a second. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I could hear your monologue, your opening monologue, a lot better. I can hear you right now, but like every fifth word kind of like sounds. That's the only reason I'm asking you to repeat yourself.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Now I got you on here. Now all of a sudden, issues with the mic. Can you hear me now?
Same, about the same.
What about now?
That's a lot quieter.
Okay. So it's a lot quieter.
Talk to me. Nothing there.
Okay. You can hear me?
Yes, sir. A little bit. Yes, sir.
Let me cut the mic up. Can you still hear me?
Yes, sir. That's better.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Everybody's saying, please like up.
They're saying what?
Now I'm telling people get the likes up.
Oh,
Yeah. Let me see. Okay. So I don't know. So yeah. So you got married and you got divorced, but then you got remarried.
yes. To the same woman. Yes, the kid's mother.
Right. So when you got divorced again, was it for the first time y'all got divorced? The same reason?
Basically, yes. Just as they say in Hollywood, irreconcilable differences was basically it. There wasn't some major event that just crashed down and hit us. We just fought all the time. Just got tired of fighting.
I understand. So, okay. Now let me ask you: how did you feel being married, even the two times you was married, and you was able to be disciplined and raise them and everything? But then when you go to court, you only could be a visitor, and you have to pay child support, and you're not an equal parent such as she is or was.
How did it make me feel?
Yeah, because you was married.
It made me feel like somebody owned me.
Mhm.
It made me feel like I wasn't a free man. All I ever wanted was equal time. Back then, there wasn't any kind of movement. I didn't think of it in those terms like equal shared parenting. That, you know, it's a catchphrase now, and it's a good one, but all I wanted was time with my kids. Back then, the standard possession order in Texas was first, third, fifth weekends plus Thursdays, I believe, and then a month in the summer. So it came out to about 40-45% of the time they were with me, which is almost half. And what I didn't understand is, why do I only get my kids 40% of the time, yet my child support in the original divorce was $2,625 a month?
Wow.
That was the maximum back then in 2007 when we got divorced. And on top of that, I had a $2,000 a month alimony bill for 12 years that I agreed to. This is one of those.
Why?
Well, I'll tell you, this is one of those things that I get ripped apart so many times for. But Caleb, you agreed. You agreed. Look, it says here, the agreement you signed. Well, what they don't tell you is the reason I signed that $2,000 a month for 12-year alimony bill was because it was either that or prolong our divorce that had already been going on for 10 months. There was going to be prolonged even further, and they were going to take all my assets. I was self-employed at the time. I had a mortgage on my shop that I lived in. It was three big buildings on one property. They wanted me to sell my property, sell my inventory, sell my vehicles, basically sell everything, whatever's left, pay off the debt, and then split whatever's left after that in half. So basically what it boiled down to, I said was, okay, whoa, back off. Don't destroy my business, please. It's the only thing I've got left. And so what I agreed to was, okay, fine. I'll pay you $2,000 a month for 12 years.
You was forced.
Which came out to $4,625 a month. And I held on to that and kept it up for about 9 months. And then good old oil field, West Texas oil field, did what it famously does. It goes like this, and then it goes. And it's funny to me how business can go down literally overnight like that. But you know what doesn't happen overnight? Going to court. Going to court to do it the right way. Your business goes to crap immediately. Your bills the next month are due immediately, including alimony and child support. But what doesn't happen is these understanding courts that just care so much about the best interest of the childrens that they say, okay, go hire a lawyer or do it pro se. Oh, you don't know what pro se is? Okay, well, tough. Oh, go hire a lawyer. Oh, well, the lawyer have to fit you in. Then the lawyer has to get with the judge and get on the docket. And then the docket gets pushed around to blah, 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 blah. It doesn't happen overnight. For Christ's sake, it took 10 months just to get a divorce. And then when your business goes away, you can't pay the alimony. You certainly can't pay the child support. You don't want to not pick up your kids because they are like the most innocent of us all, depending on you to be there. So I can't be going to work when I could have used the work because business is slow. I got to be there for the kids. So that's a double-edged sword in and of itself. Oh, you don't pay child support? You're a deadbeat. Well, I couldn't. I had to go to work. Well, you're a deadbeat. Okay, well, then I shun away work and I go pick up my kids. So if I'm shunning away work, picking up my kids, I don't have work coming in, so I don't get any money. So now I can't pay. Oh, well, now you're a deadbeat. Well, you just said I was a deadbeat the other way. Wait, so it doesn't matter which way you go. You're deadbeat. That's how I believe Title 4D of the Social Security Act, the root of all this problem, wants it to be, because these power-hungry assholes that run this family court, I'm talking about the ones that really pull the strings, they know that most parents are going to love their kids to at least some degree. They're willing to spend a few dollars to at least, no, there really are deadbeat dads. There really are deadbeat moms, but most parents in general, at the very least, would spend a few bucks just to get some time, just to make sure their kids are okay. Oh, really? You'll spend $1,000? Would you spend 2,000? Would you spend 5,000? You can just see I can just see the devil horns coming out of these assholes that make these rules. They know that some parents will go to these great extents like I did. I don't mean great, I don't mean it that way, but to go to jail. I wouldn't want to, but I would do it again. I would not want to go to jail because jail is unbelievably boring and it's lonely. It sucks. But I would do it if I had to, and those assholes know it. And you multiply that times however many million people get divorced every single year. The powers that be know that all those people have a lot of money, and they will shell it out one way or another. Your lawyers, court costs, blah, 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 blah. They'll shell it out, and they know it.
Now, I want y'all to take heed from what he said. He was extorting. It was either him give her $2,000 a month, or what was going to happen is he would have to see all his money, and he would have lost it. I understand. I want to give a shout out to Dez said 499. He said there's feedback. Caleb may need some earbuds. Shout out to my brother. I believe it was me though. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to Ashley O'Dell for the super sticker. Appreciate you, my sister. Also want to give a shout out to BMT Bounty Hunter for the 499. He said great show, and would like to give a shout out to Texas legislators. Now women know how fathers feel. Now when someone tells them they have to be a mother. Shout out to you, my brother. So let me ask this. When you got divorced the first time, did you have to pay child support and alimony or anything?
The first time, no, because there weren't any kids. I mean, we were young. We were 18 and 20 years old. We didn't have anything. We were just broke. We got divorced and nothing happened. But 10 years later, we got divorced for the second time in 2007. Then we acquired children and, some assets. The family courts like to call it community property.
Community property.
And back then, there was no such thing as cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And I highly, 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 highly recommend people that are in the middle of a divorce or they know they're about to get in the middle of divorce, educate yourself on cryptocurrency because it is a very hard asset. If you have $1 billion, you can hide $1 billion literally in a thumb drive that's that big. If you had $1 billion worth of cryptocurrency, if you had $1 trillion worth of cryptocurrency, it'll all fit in one phone or even one little chip. And nobody knows. It's all anonymous. Nobody knows anything about it. It's the greatest thing. If I would have known if there was such thing as cryptocurrency back when I got divorced, I might have a little bit of cash left over.
Wow, I didn't know that. I haven't did crypto because I ain't talked to nobody that can show me. But that's good to know. You want to have it.
Keep in mind, you're going to have a bunch of snake oil salesmen that are good, that confuse and muddy the waters. And I'm not here to sell Bitcoin. I don't want to. I'm not even accepting Bitcoin. I'm not asking for it. I'm just saying to not get off on a tear. But you're going to be okay with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and under Ethereum is all what they call DeFi, decentralized finance. It is outside of the big banks. If you get with any altcoins underneath the Ethereum model, whether it's ETH itself or anything decentralized finance, they call it DeFi. You find out basically you almost can't go wrong with the DeFi.
Wow, okay. I want to give a shout out to Corinne for the 999. She says great content. Shout out to you all the way New York City. I did not know that.
It's neat because the way you've got it set up, you get the super stickers and you've got your Cash App, which I think is awesome. It's great. But back then, people would, when I first went viral in 2013, people would send me pieces. You can send very small pieces of Bitcoin. Like there's 100 million Satoshis in one Bitcoin. You can send one Satoshi, which is like a thousandth of a penny. Anyway, back then, Bitcoin was only worth like 20 bucks. And I had people sending me half a Bitcoin, a full Bitcoin. And I thought, okay, cool, a whole Bitcoin, 20 bucks. Well, I don't know if you know this, but a Bitcoin today is literally, the going rate last time I checked is $50,000. There was 52 yesterday. It's dropped down 47, but it always fluctuates. But I sold those back in 2015 when I was dirt broke, poor, right out of jail. 3 of them. I sold 3 of them for 750 bucks.
Wow.
And I barely made my rent.
Wow.
And those three Bitcoins today are worth 150 grand.
Wow. Y'all definitely need to do that crypto. Y'all definitely need to do that crypto. So it's crazy. We ain't even get further I'm getting divorced. Just right there, just getting divorced. And they basically extorted you.
That's what it is. And again, it's not just me, it's everybody.
Well, of course.
They've created a culture where men don't dare not pay child support. They've got these men thinking, well, if I don't pay child support, then I'm a deadbeat. They've got it in their head. And all I ever wanted was stop making me pay child support. Let me support my child. Give them to me. 50% of the time when they're with me, I'll feed them. I'll clothe them. I'll read them bedtime stories. I'll teach them how to tie their shoes. And as they get older things. Give me them 50% of the time. I won't ask for a dime from anybody. I don't want anybody's handouts. I'll work hard. I'll take care of my kids. When they're with me, fear not. I will raise them the way I think is best for them to do to make sure that they're okay. Because no one ever paid me anything. No one ever paid me any child support. And I always put child support in quotes because everybody knows it's not child support. We all know what it is. It's ex-wife support. It's husband-in-law support.
Right. Government daddy support. They're going to get their what else I ask you?
Well, that's where I'm sorry. I got a little off track. But again, back to how often did I have them? I had them about 45% of the time, which is almost half the time. Why was I having to pay anything in the first place? Anything at all? And if I did have to pay, okay, well, who pays me? I don't have them 60%, but I got them 40%. Who's going to pay me to raise my child, my children?
And that's what I want to ask you. At the time, did they go when they did the child support? Did they go off both incomes?
Did they go what?
Did they go off both incomes, or they just went off what you made?
What I made at the time, I was the only one working.
Oh,
she was a stay-at-home mom.
Oh, okay, yeah. But what I'm saying, even though she was a stay-at-home mom, they still go off both incomes at that time.
Well, if she would have been worked out of the home, then they would have. Yes, okay. They would have.
Don't go, but some states still don't go off both incomes.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
A few, yeah. Everybody's not doing it yet. I want to give a shout out to the kids' dad for 499. He said, CL was right. See how fresh and fit yesterday's money show. Good info. All right, brother. Appreciate you. They talk about kleptocurrency as well. Damn. I just got $4,000 a month.
46. Yeah, when you get the house and half the assets and that kind of income, it's not hard to not have a job and stay home.
Now, of course, you got 40% parent at the time. How was it picking up children and just trying to be a father the first couple of years dealing with after the divorce as far as the co-parent, but that's a bullshit phrase. That's just control the other parent. What was you going through trying to see your children?
What was I going for?
No, what was you going through? Like you trying to go see your kids? A lot of these baby mama kids, they'll make excuses and let them outside, or you got to wait out for.
Usually, I just pull up to the driveway, and there's always some kind of tension. But in the beginning, it was hard. It was like, I know they're feeling uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable, but with it, we eventually got used to it. And the longer it went, the less they just knew just to walk out. They just knew it's just time to go. I always drove there to pick them up. They were to drop off and pick up. They were. I don't remember why, but they never or almost never were brought to me, or they almost never were picked up from my house. It just was always the one taken. Of course, in the beginning, the first few years, we both lived in the same town, so it wasn't really that big a deal.
Right. Okay. So, what was the stipulation on the alimony? Did you have to pay alimony for a certain amount of years, or married?
Well, the agreement was $2,000 a month for 12 years. Eventually, that got taken. That was just that. I basically was forced to trade time with my kids for alimony. I couldn't pay it anymore because back then I had a business, had 3 or 4 employees. I couldn't afford it once I lost my business. So I owed it. So I had to trade time with my kids. It went from first, third, and fifth weekends and Thursdays to second and fourth weekends and no Thursdays. And I know this sounds ridiculous because it is. On the second weekend at Sunday, I had to drop them off at 6 p.m. On the fourth weekend, and you can hear this mentioned in the Parker movie, the fourth weekend, I'd drop them off at 2 p.m. There was literally an argument over another 4-hour difference. And it just drove me. I had to agree to it, or they were going to continue the lawsuit back then some more. So yes, I agreed to it. And that was always the point of contention on my kids' side, because I always get the question, "Hey, Dad, is it a 2:00 weekend or a 6:00 weekend?"
Right.
Because they wanted to stay longer, but they knew, 6:00 weekend, that's a little better. It gets their dad at least till the sun's almost down. 2:00 weekends for years was just, oh my God, we're right in the middle of something, Dad. Why do we have to go back at 2? I said, you can't, what do you tell an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old when they ask you that? I have to, son, daughter. I don't have a choice. You can ask your mom if we can, stay till 6. And the answer was universally no in the beginning. Towards the end, they were getting a little bigger. She really didn't have a choice because the kids weren't even asking back then. They were just kind of like, we're going to stay till 6. In fact, we might even stay till 7. But in the beginning, the first few years when they're little, prepubescent years, then if I was just a few minutes late, it wasn't uncommon for me to pull up and see that she's on the phone with the cops again.
And what will happen when the police come since he was 30 minutes late?
I don't remember them actually ever showing up. I think it was more of a threat or an intimidation. They didn't show up. Then most of the time when the cops came, by that point in the divorce, I learned to just hold up the camera. Not always, but I learned to. At the time when I made the Parker movie, I was real big into police brutality videos. I watched a lot of them, and they made me sick. And I would watch the successful videos where the camera person actually got justice or helped get justice in the court later when they would ask the right questions. They knew when to shut up. They knew when to speak up, and they knew their rights. And so I started watching a lot of police brutality videos, so much to the point, like you and I talked off air the other day, if you watch Parker versus the Man, at the end of Parker versus the Man, the second to last picture is with me and Parker and the Bobby Seale, the original, one of the original co-founders of the Black Panther Party back in the 60s. I was so into cop watching back then that I heard Bobby Seale was going to be speaking in Austin, which is about a 5-hour drive from Odessa. And I took Parker there, and I didn't know how he's going to react. And much to my pleasantly surprise, he was on the edge of his seat the entire time, watching every word that Bobby Seale said. And he talked for over an hour, about an hour and a half. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay. Anyways, I'm kind of getting off on tears, but I'm trying to fill in some gaps and common questions. Why did Parker walk like that? You coached your kids, and like, no, moron, I didn't coach my kid. I taught my kids. I watched people that are successful and like our elders, like Bobby Seale in particular. That day Parker was taken from me, he had seen Bobby Seale give his speech, very powerful speech, the day before. That was civil disobedience was fresh on his mind. I wasn't coaching him. I was teaching him how to survive, because I'm not going to lie, I'm still scared of cops. But back then I was deathly afraid that, okay, they're coming after me, and they send people with guns for a reason, because they will use them if they have to. You don't do what they say. Like that cop in Parker versus the Man, I couldn't stand that guy. And I was trying, like I did with the Parker movie, to bite my tongue, be respectful, not run my mouth, and fuck the police. As much as I may agree with that most of the time, I knew if I acted like that, I was going to be less successful. And that's what Bobby Seale was talking about in his speech back then. If you go out acting like a fool, you're going to get shot. If you lose your temper, you're going to get shot. If you know you're the law and educate yourself and remain calm. Back then they didn't have cameras, but he was talking I'm talking about in the 60s, but even in 2013, he was talking about it's good to film the police. You don't answer questions. You assert your rights, and before you can assert them, you have to know them. So,
Was you always with the police since you was dealing with child support, or was it before child support? Was it before or during child support that you was dealing with the police the way a lot of us do?
hold on, I'd have some earphones back here. I can hear you when you talk soft, but as soon as your face gets up here, it like blinks out. Let me try my headphones real quick. Hang on just a second.
Okay. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Face Facts. I didn't see his super chat. What is that? This Face Facts. He sent the $4.99 super chat. He says God has nothing to do with marriage or family courts in Babylon. This is bitchcraft, not religion. 100%, bro. Face Facts. The thing I don't like about YouTube, if you miss the super chat, if it goes so far, what happens is you can't find. I have to go inside the YouTube to make sure I call y'all out. Forgive me if I go past it, but shout out to Game of Lives Matter for letting me know.
Now can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I can barely hear you in these, but you can't hear me. So ask your question again about the police and child support.
Well, as far as the police, was you going through the situation with the police when you was going through the child support situation? Or was you going through it with the police before all this situation going on with the child support?
Man, I'm sorry about this. It just keeps blinking out.
Well, what you can do, you can log out the StreamYard and come back in. Sometimes that works.
Okay, let me try that.
Yeah, maybe that'll work. Because I want everybody to hear everything.
Stop cam.
Yeah, just log out. I'm gonna put you out and then just come back in. Let's try it that way. Yeah, feedback. I apologize. I don't know. He's on his boat. He got a boat, and he on his boat doing his interview. How do I sound now? Do I sound the same? Do I sound different? Let me know, because now I don't hear no issues. I thought it was me, actually. Let me know. He's come back up. I ain't let him back in. I don't hear no echoes or nothing now. I thought, because I actually really always assume it's me. I sound good? Yeah, okay. No, it's not me, perverted at best. It must, because he's on a boat doing the interview. He's not in the house, and he's on the internet. So that's, I mean, so give, appreciate y'all. Let me know. What's going on, brother?
I hear you perfectly when I'm not on the screen. Try it now.
I hear you.
Okay. I guess worst case, whenever you need to ask me a question, just take me off screen, ask the question, and then put me on so you can hear me.
Well, can you hear me?
It just goes in and out again when I'm. It may be my computer.
You're not on YouTube, are you?
I can
see if like you in the stream, y'all, but sometimes like when others get on, they be on the YouTube or they on Facebook and they still on the stream, y'all. You have to delete the YouTube.
Now I've got all other windows are shut now.
Or if everything's shut down. Okay.
It may, like I told you, my computer is old and it feels a little warm in my hand. Sorry.
Somebody said turn off the camera. Try that. It's a button with the camera. You can turn your camera off. How's it sound
now? You're still tweaking.
Still tweaking. It don't make.
I hear you fine when you take me off camera.
When I take y'all camera.
Yeah, take me off.
Nah, I can't. If I take you off, then
or whatever it was you did a minute ago.
When I removed you like this, you probably could hear me. But the problem is, if you talk, they won't hear you. You move. Well, let's just roll with it, man. Good.
Let's try. We'll try.
Yeah, let's roll with it. I understand. I told him you on the boat and you on the computer, so it's not. He's not in the crib or anything. So I thought it was me. But when I logged you out, it sounded perfect. So I'm like, okay, it's not me. So no problem. I want to give a shout out to Perverted at for $20. He said new mic's on. My mic is all good, man. You know.
Does that help?
Sounds good to me.
You're quiet, but I can hear you.
Okay. Did you unlock the audio button on StreamYard?
The audio button in the graveyard?
The StreamYard.
StreamYard.
On the link. Like you got a camera, they got the mic.
Yes. Yeah, I'd maybe do both of them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hey, we'll just have to deal with it because, I mean, like I say, you on the boat, it's all good. We can tolerate it. So, where was we at? We was at the part about, yeah, when you was going through the divorce with the police, was this after you got divorced? Because you police, it seems like when the police be caught on based on child support, some type of situation with your kids, that's when they start treating the fathers like shit, definitely. So was you going through it then, or was you going through it?
If I heard the question correctly, we always had problems after the divorce. I was always either getting sued, or my new wife was getting sued with me, or my new wife was getting sued along with both of her parents. It wasn't police per se directly involved back then. It was just, the server getting served with more papers, always getting sued. And I always walked away with less time with my kids and more money shelled out.
So you got remarried?
Yes, both of us, both the kid's mother and I, both remarried within a year of getting divorced. Big mistake, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I'd like to clarify this when I can. My second wife's name is Samantha, and her name is mentioned in the video, the Parker movie. Again, obviously, I wasn't going to argue with her. She accused me of all kinds of things, and there's a reason I didn't argue, is because it never works out well. But Samantha, it was my second wife, and she and I got married. Oh my gosh, it's all run together. 2008, August 2008. So a year and a half after we first divorced. So, no, Samantha and I didn't have any children. She, like I said, she got sued along with her parents and me at one point by the kid's mother, and accused in open court of sexual misconduct of my then 3-year-old daughter. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just
not you, your wife.
All four of us, me, my wife, and both of her parents. And what it boiled down to, fortunately, back then, the judge, I guess you could say, had my back, and it was Judge Whalen. But that's before other things happened. But what the short story there is, London was about 3, my daughter, and she was a baby when we got divorced, and so she was only 2 when I remarried. So her new mother-in-law, that was her Gigi. That was her grandmother. My daughter didn't know the difference. She didn't know they weren't blood. She didn't care either. Right. She loved her grandmother. She would spend the night, as little 3-year-olds do, and Gigi was just beautiful and awesome to her. Took her to toilet paper rolling and took her to do arts and crafts, and just always spent time there. A thunderstorm came in one night, and my 3-year-old daughter was in her own room and got scared, ran to grandma's room, 2 a.m. Grandma grabs her, like, half out of it, throws her in bed with her and her husband on the king size bed with the CPAP machine on the other side. Nobody thought anything of it, other than, okay, a little girl got scared in the dark. London gets home, unfortunately, and again, it's not her fault. How was your weekend, little girl? Well, I spent that with Gigi and I slept in her bed. You did what? That turned into sexual misconduct, and I was a part of it because I condoned it, I guess. That's where that logic came from. Samantha was part of it because it was her parents, so she condoned it. It was absolute ridiculousness. Fortunately, thank the gods that the judge saw through that, and that was dismissed. And another thing I would like to clear up about Samantha is, yes, she was my second ex-wife, and we are, I don't know if we're friends, but like, we don't talk every day, but in a pinch, if she needed me, I'd be there. In a pinch, if I needed her, they were there. Whenever the stuff happened with Blaine 4 years later in 2017, and I was sued yet again, not only did I have 27 people sitting on my side of the aisle, of which 23 were all mothers, but one of those people was my second ex-wife, Samantha, which I'm forever grateful for. And the other one was my former mother-in-law, Gigi, Christy. Her name's Christy, but I'll call her Gigi. Samantha and Gigi, though our marriage fell apart, they both, to me, showed a lot of class and showed up for me when I was, and it's not just for me. I think it was for my kids, because it hurt them too. That, all of a sudden the kids go from having a Gigi and Mike to, why can't we ever see him again? And I let London go over there a little more after we divorced, but I can't get into too much detail. But the agreement was, Caleb, if you ever do remarry, it's better just pull the little Band-Aid off now than to hurt, down the road. And I can't go into much more detail, but either way, my former in-laws through Samantha are two of the most wonderful people in the world, and I still love them and Samantha to this day. Not in a sick way, but I respect them, and I'll always appreciate what they did for me and my kids in 2017 by showing up in court.
Yeah, shout out to them as well. I want to give a shout out to Dead said once again for the 499. He said they use our kids to emasculate men. Insidious. Yeah, 100%. I gotta ask you, do you think that's the reason why y'all got divorced? You and Samantha, all this that was going on, or you got going on as well?
I think so. Oh yeah. Yeah, we didn't. Samantha and we were great. I think we got in maybe a handful of fights, arguments our whole 4 years together. It was great. I mean, other than that, we didn't have any problems. We didn't fight. It was great, but I could see the writing on the wall. I mean, it's a big deal to get drug into open court with those kind of accusations. That's serious business. And looking back, I didn't like it at the time, but I'm glad she left because I went through so much hell, and it was just it wouldn't have been right to drag her through that. And we were still young. I was 30 when I remarried. She was 23 or 24. We were still young, but yeah, I don't blame her. I'll just say I don't blame her for leaving now. I was hurt then, but I don't blame her at all for leaving.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to EC for the cash. Yeah, I appreciate you, my brother. So I want y'all to understand what he said. He didn't get divorced with Samantha because they had problems. They got divorced because she couldn't deal with the baby mama terrorist shit that was going on. And I do understand that. I give shout out to any woman that supports the husband or the fiance, the significant other with the baby mama terrorist. Shout out to the stepmoms for that. On that. So now, mind you, you got remarried, and your ex got remarried.
Yeah, she beat me to the altar by a month.
So even though she's remarried, she should be happy. She found her Prince Charming. She still decided to give you and your new wife and her parents hell.
I went through hell. That's a safe assumption.
Yeah. So did you go over there causing havoc with her new husband like she did you?
When I found out he was attempting to discipline and spank my kids, yeah.
No. Not that way. I mean, just to cause problems. I ain't talking about because he's doing stuff to your kids. Like just out of anger.
Oh, just in general? Oh, no, I didn't care. She moved on. I couldn't care less. I remarried for a reason because I fell in love with another woman, and it was fine. No, I didn't. He can have all that he wanted.
Right. Okay. So, but like you say, you had to confront him on some things, discipline your children, or whatever else was going on in the house, of course. Y'all never got along, did you?
We never got what?
Got along.
No. The same safe assumption. No, we did not. I mean, we get along enough now to not ever talk, which suits me fine. Right. My kids are all big enough. My boys are all taller than me, so I know nobody's going to hit them, because if they get hit, then my boys will punch back, and my boys are really, really big and strong. Mm-hmm. It just makes me so happy that they are that big.
So how was it? I call him a simp, of course, and the reason why I call him a simp because I'm gonna do it for you.
Here I come to say
yeah, see,
first time you played that, I laughed so hard. That Mighty Mouse, here I come to save the day.
And the reason why I said it because he didn't have nothing to do with that situation. Whatever was going on between you and your ex, it should have stuck there. That's between y'all two. When I saw that video with Parker, he's standing there asking why you filming. He's holding up a paper that you and her went through. He wasn't there. And if he was, it still doesn't have nothing to do with him. And she would tell him, make the phone call. He get the calling. Make the phone call again. He get the calling. Make the phone call again. He get the calling. And then finally she says, get the papers. And then Finally, he take the baby, his newborn, go in the house, then he come back out, sitting here like just waiting for whatever she say do to you. How did you feel knowing that another man is going along with bullshit when it didn't have to be? He's supposed to be the leader of the house. What was your thought process with that?
Honestly, I just didn't care. Whatever misery he stuck himself with, that's up to him. I mean, I don't care.
Right.
My only concern was disciplining my children. That's my fucking job, or their mom's job, but it's no one else's job. Personally, I started waking up. I take a little bit different approach. The way I told you that I take a different approach on religion, I take a different approach on discipline, and this rubs a lot of people the wrong way. But I don't spank my kids, and I never did. I taught my children self-discipline, and well, I'll say I never did. When they were very young, I did spank Parker once or twice and Blaine once or twice, but never Hayden and never London. I had already had a problem with it even before the divorce, but once the divorce happened and I found out the kids were telling me that he was spanking them, I just lost it. You know, not only is no one going to spank my kids, if I don't even spank my own kids, you sure the hell ain't going to spank them. Nobody is, not without me having something to say about it. So I developed an ideal of parenting called nonviolent parenting, and it's basically just raising them and get down on their level. When they're 5 and they come to you with 5-year-old problems, get on the 5-year-old level and stop whatever it is you're doing. Your new dating life, your job, your hobby, your beer drinking, whatever it is you're doing, stop what you're doing, get down on the 5-year-old's level and talk to them and teach them how to resolve problems on a 5-year-old level. When they're 10, talk to them on a 10-year-old level. And I didn't care how long it took or what it cost me. I got down on my children's level and I talked to them instead of just, boom, do as I say, boom, because I said so. I hate that mentality. I hated being treated like that. And of all people in society, the people that are least likely to defend themselves, which is children, are the ones that society says that's okay, that it's okay to hit them. Well, I can't go spank my ex. I mean, if that solved anything, then why couldn't I just go spank her? Why can't you go spank your ex or punch? You know, we can't hit adults, but we can hit children. So I just took it to a whole new level, and I started developing it. And the more my kids were telling me they were getting hit, the more pissed I got. I'm like, not only am I not going to hit my kids, you sure as hell ain't going to hit my kids. So,
now, of course, by him spanking, evidently the mother allowed it. She didn't have no problem with it. So I'm sure he didn't just do it on his own. I'm sure that the mother said it was okay to do it.
I have a big problem with that.
Right. So did you confront her about that?
Oh, yeah.
And what was her response?
It was a very long story short, a big screw you, don't tell me what to do when the kids are with me, basically.
Right. Yeah, right. Now, the reason why I asked that because in the video with you and Parker, when Parker was 14, he didn't want to get out the car. I noticed she called you Caleb and called him Dad. So how did you feel? She did this in your face. She did on camera, not on air.
How do you think I felt?
I didn't have this situation happen to me on that level, so that's why I have to ask you. I would be enraged personally, but
I was enraged. However, I knew she was going to, because as soon as I was out of the picture, she started that crap.
Oh, okay.
Again, back then, I was real big into watching police brutality and filming videos, and I would watch people's mistakes. And instigators know how to instigate. They know how to push buttons. And I knew that crap was going to happen if I pulled the camera out, or even if I didn't, because it always happened in the past. And I also knew that there was 0 point in arguing over it. It was not going to establish, it was not going to help anything. No, I didn't like it. I hated it then just as much as I hate it today. And I hear a lot of people say, well, if someone ever did that to me, I would just kill the bitch, or I would, and I understand that rage, because that's a natural, normal human reaction to be tread upon like that. But in the reality of the world in which we live, you lose if you lose your temper like that. And that's why I try to get young people in our situation, remember that you lose when you lose your temper. It's okay to get okay to get angry. Do not lose your temper,
Right.
because they want you to. Because I'll be just bluntly honest. I didn't want my kids getting beat up, but if they're going to get beat up at that drop off, that's what the camera's for, man. That is exactly if any party, outside party, was going to beat up on my son, maybe there's nothing I could do without me causing me to go to jail, prison for the rest of my life, possibly even the chair, because it's Texas. But they can't stop me from recording it. And if they were going to do something like that, I was going to record it.
This is why I tell us as men, we have to be thinkers and not reactors, because our
Yes.
reaction can set us up for failure.
Yes.
Set us up for failure. These baby mama kids, they got leeway. They can say they got depressive. They can say that they got PTSD. They can say they just got mental issues and all that stuff. We don't have that. So you have to be a thinker now. I agree 100%. So I want to ask you, what led up to the video? What led up to your son saying, I don't want to go back home. I'm not getting in trouble. What led up to that?
I'd already been sued to an oblivion. I was broke. My second wife had just left me. He was coming of age, really coming of age, where it was time. He really wanted to spend more time with me and not less time. Like I said, people criticize me for not, calling up and talking about it. Well, I'd already been sued to an oblivion. Like, I don't know how many times I was sued over the years, at least half a dozen, maybe 8. It's a bunch. And I told Parker, son, I have to return you, and I'll try to go to court. But at this very moment today, I can't take you to. I can't go to court. I have to take you back, or I will go to jail. And he said, Dad, I can't go back over there anymore. I said, okay. So my first plan was to drop the other 3 off and leave Parker at home. But I thought, no, that's a provable offense. I didn't return him. I'll go to jail. I'll get held in contempt. So I finally just told him, Parker, the decree says I must return you to that address at 2:00 p.m. Period. Wow. After that, it doesn't say I have to kick you out. It doesn't say I have to say anything to you. It doesn't say I have to do anything at all. It says Mr. Leverett will return the children to blah, blah, blah address on the 4th Sundays of every month, period. And I said, at that point, you must know that you are no longer legally in my custody. I won't kick you out because I'm a nonviolent parent. I'm a champion for nonviolent parenting. But I can't help whatever you're on your mom's time. If you want to stay with her, that's okay. If you want to stay in my truck, that's okay too. I can't make you stay, and I'm not going to make you go. But what I can do is, knowing your mom, since I was married to her for 10 years the way I do, I can hold my camera up. I can hold the camera up, but outside of that, I mean, if you'll notice in that 72-minute video, I said what, maybe 10 lines. maybe 10 sentences the whole time. I said, "You're on your own. I can't. I hate it, but that's how it is." And he understood it, and so he just decided not to get out. And that's what led me to the end when I drove off. And I can't believe I take so much shit over this. I told my son that I was proud of him for standing his ground. I get shit for that online, and I got shit for it from the judge.
Whoa,
Saying,
really?
yeah, I was like, where is this coming from? There's half the kids out there, they don't even know who their father is. And if they do, they'd give anything just for him to say. Hell, I would have given anything until I was age 40 for my own father to tell me he's proud of me. I don't understand where that does not compute. Of all the things to get onto me about, you encouraged it, you told your son you're proud of him. What boy doesn't like to hear that from his own dad? Did you like hearing it? You've got a dad. Did you know your dad?
Yeah. I was raised with my mother and father. Yes.
Okay, so did you enjoy hearing, "Son, I'm proud of you" from your dad? I don't know one boy or girl, for that matter, that doesn't like or never liked hearing that from their own dad. And
Right.
for me to get reprimanded for it and ripped apart for it, that tells me that's a symptom of a really, really, really sick society.
Right. And they did that just to try to justify putting you in jail.
Pretty much, yeah. I was encouraging disobedience and defiance, and you shouldn't have gone against God's word of honoring your father and your mother, all that horse crap. Like, well, I am his father. I'm part of that equation too. He's honoring me. I'm honoring him. I don't hit my kids. I mean, I value their human being lives enough to not hit them. What do you mean I'm not honoring my child? Well, you've got to force him. Well, that brings up another topic that turns a lot of people away, because I'm neither a Republican or a Democrat. I'm a libertarian, and to give it the big scary A word, I'm an anarchist. I don't hide that. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's got a bad connotation. The politically correct word is a voluntarist. Big, mean, scary Caleb, big, evil Caleb believes that all human interactions should be voluntary. If they weren't voluntary, we wouldn't do them. You are selling a vacuum cleaner. I have money. You want my money. I want your vacuum cleaner. I give you my money. You give me the vacuum cleaner. It's voluntary. End of interaction. I like your friendship. I like being around you. You like being around me. We're friends. We spend time together. It's voluntary. I just think that all human interactions, including children, should be voluntary. Yes, I get it. They're little. I get the same stupid question from people all the time. Well, what are you going to do if they decide they're going to run out in the car in front of the street and get in front of a car? Well, they're 5 years old. I'm going to stop them. I'm going to do everything I can to reach out and grab. Well, that's force. Technically it is, but he's a child. And a 5-year-old is going to die, and there's no time to go through the philosophy. As soon as I get the 5-year-old out of the immediate death danger, then I'll talk to the scared, startled child who is alive and not run over and say, when you're out and you're little, you're this big and that car is this big. And if it's going fast, look and see that dead duck right there? That's what happens. That would be you. You don't want to be dead, do you? Oh. That's what I mean. Talk to them on a 5-year-old level. Get them out of the immediate danger, but then why grab the belt and beat the hell out of them? All that's going to do is teach them to be submissive, just always cowing down to authority. I question authority so much that I've got it tattooed on my arm. Question everything. I teach my kids to question everything. Question even me. Question my motives. Question what I say. And when you do that, I just think that's a healthier way to live, a healthier way to raise strong men and strong women to become who they are with themselves, by themselves, and for themselves, if that makes sense. Instead of this constant authority. Like, what is authority? Really, what is like? I
agree.
I can't come into your house and say, Mr. Palmer, get your ass away from that computer. A, I
Right.
wouldn't talk to you that way. And B, that's not my house. That's your house.
Right.
But if me and my friend came to your house, if we said those same words, would that be okay? No, you could probably whip both of us. Well, if me and my friend and 100 of my other friends came there and we all told you that, well, you probably would get away from your computer because we outnumbered you 100 to 1. That's to me, that's what authority is someone just claimed the ownership of somebody else.
100% right. So let me ask you this: how does it feel that as long as you was in the household with your ex-wife, you was a good father, you was allowed to be a father and discipline everything, but then now that you're separated, now you ain't allowed to be a father, you ain't allowed to have say, you ain't allowed to have any type of control. How did that feel?
When they came of age?
No, when you was going through the situation, like you say, he's disciplining your kids. She's allowing it, and you trying to be civil. But you really can't do nothing about it because you go to court. They're gonna say, well, he's the stepfather. If you attacked him, you're going to jail.
Yes.
If you talk to somebody else, they're gonna say it's not my business. So that's what I'm saying. How did you feel that you weren't allowed to basically take control? What nothing you could do about it? How did that feel? That all this shit going on over there and ain't nothing you could do about it?
It felt completely helpless.
Mm-hmm.
It brought suicidal thoughts. That I never fully contemplated suicide, but it sure thought about the helplessness. I sure thought about, well, I see why people consider it. If anybody, like I said, if anybody's going to discipline my kids, it's going to be me or their mom. Just because we don't get along, right. I know she's their mom. We don't get along for a reason, and I disagree with so many things that she does, but at least she's their mom. But I would expect the counter to be the same. At least I'm their dad.
Speaking of dad, you just said that you are their dad. Was there a time that your kids call you by your first name because of manipulation at the house?
Not in front of me.
Not in front of you, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I can say this. There were a couple of times where they didn't necessarily know that I was listening. Not that I was eavesdropping, I just happened to hear them. Mm-hmm. There's some things I can't talk about. And, well, in front of me, that never happened. But I think they were led to believe that they had to in other company. I guess I could say that.
I understand and make it look good for I get it. Yeah, I got it. I know exactly what you're saying. Even if they didn't want to say it, they was motivated to say it.
Yeah, they knew it was just going to be mortal hell. It was going to be some kind of bad thing if they didn't. So it is just easier to refer, well, okay, we're going to Caleb's house. Right. It's duress in its own way. It's duress, of course. And I don't think it's bad of it. When it was just us, like just us out and about doing our thing, going on all the things that we did in the RV. No, it's just dad. It's always dad. No, they've never called me by my first name when they had a choice and it was just us.
Right. I understand. Okay. So how was it when you saw the police actually sided with your son saying, hey, I can't take him out the car. You can go. You're free to go. How did you feel? Because the police say, no, court order, get out the car and go in the house. How did you feel that you was able to take your son back to your house?
Oh my God, I was shocked because I was, like I said, I was watching police brutality videos. I was floored. I thought, holy moly, this was not expected. I thought there was a very good likelihood that they would get violent. They were the ones that get violent with Parker. I'm thankful they didn't. I was absolutely shocked. I couldn't believe it, which had me reevaluate, my own ideas about police interaction. I mean, first of all, you don't talk to them, but if you do talk to them, you got to be real smart with them. I mean, real smart about it.
Right.
Everyone wants to tell them just go fuck themselves. It's none of your fucking business. And sometimes you can say that, but I think looking back, if I would have told him, fuck off, you're not getting my identification, I think I would have had far less of a better shot at it. They would have said, they would have gotten angry or whatever and been more motivated to be shitty towards Parker. So I don't normally give my ID to cops if they just come randomly ask for it, just being assholes, unless they have a legal reason to. If they don't have a legal reason to, I'd say I'm not going to talk about my day. But in that case, it was my son in the middle of it. There's nothing I could really do. I made a judgment call in that particular area to be polite and just go ahead because I could figure it out the way cops figure us out. I figured out that situation. He didn't really give a crap who I was. As long as I was the dad, that's all. I figured it out. That was truly, I believe, his only motive. Okay, first of all, are you really the dad? Oh, that's all. He didn't. I don't think he was trying to bust me for cocaine or try to bust me for blah, blah, whatever it is they do to trump up charges. I genuinely felt that that's all he cared about. Just make sure if you're the dad, I really don't care. That's what I felt.
I got that. He didn't care. He didn't entertain none of that. Now let's get to later. I believe it was 3 months later when you went to court, and the judge said that he must go home with his mother. Was it 3 months?
Yes, about 2.5 months.
2.5 months. Before y'all end up going back to court, how was it having your son for the 2.5 months?
How was it? What was it like having him?
Yeah, how was it that you have your son every day? You're not just having them 40% of the time and
it was awesome. It was new, but it was the greatest summer of my life. He went to work with me a few times, but he's 14. He didn't have to. He's big enough. He could stay home by himself all day while I went to work.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, if I had an overnight field job, I just called. I was another thing. I could go get him his own phone. At the time, they weren't ever allowed to call me.
Oh, they wasn't?
Oh, no.
Oh.
No, legally they had to, but that's just one of those easy things a parent can do to squash. Real easy. But yeah, I just wouldn't get. In fact, oddly enough, his phone number is just a couple digits off from my phone number. I intentionally got him his own iPhone, just like the one I had, with almost the same phone number, just like I had, in the same case, and he just thought that's the coolest thing ever, just like Dad's. So,
wow,
it was great.
Okay. So the 2.5 months. Now you got to go to court. Of course, she filed, and of course, Parker do not want to be there. And of course, at 12 years old in Texas,
it is 12.
Right? They can say, "I want to live with the father or the mother." Okay. Did you have the idea that since he can make the decision, you will get?
Did I have the idea what?
That you will get custody since he was 12 or he was 14.
Oh, yes.
He wanted to be with you.
Yes. Yes. Walking into that courtroom after him living with me for 2.5 months, after having on video the police tell me, Mr. Leverett, you and your son are free to go, I was 99.9999% positive he was going to come live with me because he was 14, not 12. Mm-hmm. When it came back that he had to go back to his mother, that was 100% not expected. I did not expect that at all. Neither did Parker.
Oh, wow. So was you told, I was told it too, when the child reached 12, 13, 14, in the state, they automatically go whoever they want to be with. Is that why you knew that he was coming home with you?
When they was okay, say it again.
I said, what I was told was if they reach a certain age and they decide to be with they choose to be with a certain parent, they automatically go. Did you have that same mindset?
Yes. I was told later by the judge that, or by my lawyer, that they can choose when they're 12, but they have to go talk to the judge first.
Okay. I want y'all to hear that. I want y'all to hear that.
Yeah, we were told that. And Parker literally got on the stand at age 14 and said, "I want to live with my dad." Judge didn't care.
Okay. So what happened when he told the judge and told the lawyer and told everybody in there, "I want to be with my dad"? And did he explain why?
Yeah, I got to remember it's been 8 years. He was put on the stand and asked a series of age-appropriate questions, but it was what it boils down to: I want to be with my dad.
Right.
I'll be just bluntly honest. There was a printout, a statement that I made on a YouTube response is what visually I could see what pissed the judge off. I had never had a viral video. At the time before that, I had like maybe 150 subscribers. It went viral, and it was all new to me. And I was reading comments, and I made the mistake of taking a lot of them personally. And people were going back and forth and back and forth. Parker this, Parker's mom that. And I got irritated one night, and I said something like, fuck the mom, fuck the dad, fuck me, and fuck you. This is about my son, Parker. It's not about anybody else, or something along those lines. That comment was later printed out in court, and I was asked to read those exact words. And when I said the words, fuck the court, that judge looked at me and stopped me and said, "Are you talking to me?" I was like I was confused. I was like, "No, like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I don't even know you." When I said those words, fuck the court, I meant the fuck the court system overall. He literally read that as if I was looking him square in the eye and bucking his authority right to his face. And you could see he was visually pissed at that point. Parker got on the stand afterwards. My mother got on the stand afterwards. My sister, by the way, those two other ladies in there, those were my mom and sister. They got on the stand, and he wasn't listening for shit. He'd already made up his mind. He wasn't going to do. He didn't care if Parker wanted to live with me. I used the words in a typed out message in a response to a fucking YouTube post: fuck the court, fuck the mom, fuck me, and fuck you. He took it completely out of context and just punished me for it.
He wasn't gonna do it either way. Even if you didn't say it, it didn't matter.
I don't think he would have.
No. Like, I got fucked child support. He ain't gonna do anything for me.
Yeah.
Shout out to Fear the Numb. Got a super sticker. Appreciate you, brother. So we saw the aftermath. As far as Parker he walking a straight line like he was going to jail. And he sat there on the ground, still trying to prolong getting in the van. Is that part of the reason for watching? I mean, y'all was at the public speaking with the co-founder of the Black Panther,
With Bobby Steele, yeah.
Is that part of the reason why he was basically protesting going back to live with his mother? You think that had a lot to do with it?
Well, the reason he was protesting is because he wanted to live with me. I firmly believe the reason he decided to choose civil disobedience by having a sit down I firmly believe it was 100% because of his speech from Bobby Seale.
Shout out to Bobby Seale. So, what did you think of that officer that was talking to him? Because some of the shit he was saying was stupid. I didn't understand what the Nazis and different gang affiliation of do with him. Basically doing a sit-down protest.
What did I think of that officer?
Yeah.
I think the officer's a brain dead idiot. If I wasn't in such shock at the time of my son, my whole world being turned upside down, I would have called a fucking limp-wristed yes man cocksucker sucker slave driver he is for doing what he did. I know these words sound in contrast to what I actually said in the video, but at the time, again, I was in utter disbelief and utter shock, scared to death, because he wasn't the only cop there. Those, other than the lawyer, those other guys there that you'd never seen, those are all cops. Plain dress clothes cops. They were all around us.
Oh, okay.
I was scared. I mean, I didn't get them in the camera, but I was scared to death because they all had guns. Every single one of them. Like, this is a 14-year-old custody case. Why are all these guns around me? You can hear me at the beginning. Why are they, I could say something like, why are they dispersing? And because they were going all around. I was just trying my best not to get my son or myself shot. And so I was trying to be as polite as I could to this idiot. And it's, you know, it's funny enough, that guy wound up getting fired like a year later anyways.
Really? For what? Do you know?
Yeah. Huh?
Do you know? Do you know why?
Yeah, I do. I don't remember how, I don't remember if it was in the paper or I don't remember how I found out, but he was involved with it was actually a racial thing.
Of course.
He was involved with some kind of racial,
of course.
There was another cop that he worked with that I actually went to school with. His name was Tommy Jones. I didn't know Tommy and I were the same age. I didn't know him, but I knew he was a cop. But something happened there. I'm pretty sure I read it in the paper. He said, I don't know if it was N-word or whatever. I don't know how you feel about that, but you know, I don't know what it was exact. He said something racially derogatory towards black people.
Oh, of course.
And that's why he got fired.
Right, but he told your son that you being defiant would make you one of these white supremacists.
Yes, like what in the world is he talking about?
You can't make shit up.
And then he accused me of being like a freak Jim Jones.
Yeah, yeah. That's that punk ass officer.
Here I come to save the day.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah. I know my words are basically the exact opposite in the video, but I'm just here to tell you, I was scared to death. I had all these cops all around me. My son had just gotten ripped away. Parker got threatened in the hallway for throwing a fit when he found out the news. They threatened to arrest him right there. He was big back there. I had to grab him and bear hug him just to get him outside so I could start camp. They threatened to arrest me for pulling the camera out when I told him the news. I was trying my best, not to get shot. And I was being as polite to that cop as I could possibly be. I was trying to throw in some jabs at the very end about the automatic weapons, but the short of it is I was fucking devastated. They just took my son away in broad daylight, and they enforced it with men with guns.
I want to give a shout out to Ricardo Cray for the $9.99 donation. He said, telling these stories are important and it's saving lives by having a space and platform like this. 100. Appreciate you, my brother. The last thing I want to ask you about that cop, how did it feel that he told Parker that, well, if your mother choked you out, if she beats you, it's just something you got to endure. It is what it is. How did you feel listening to this cop tell your son that bullshit?
That nothing's changed, that we're blacks have the right to vote now, but we're all just slaves, just a different kind. We're all wage slaves. We all have to pay our taxes or go to jail. We got to pay our child support, extortion, or go to jail. We have owners. George Carlin nailed it decades ago. They own us. In the old days, the easy way to separate us was through race. They try to do it now, but I think a lot of that's fading. But now it's father against mother. They try to pit father against mother. And I'll be real honest with you. I quit calling myself a father's rights activist a long time ago. I did at one point, but I figured out, yes, I technically am, because I point out that it is 90% of the time that fathers get screwed in family court. That's just a fact. However, I would be in the position, I'm sure you are too, I'm in the position, I know a lot of good moms that get screwed too. It just so happens I know about 10% as many moms as I do dads. So now the great division is separate us through male and female. And I think I'm sorry, I kind of lost. Sometimes I get to going on things and I catch myself in mid-sentence. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I say I understand. Go ahead. No, I was saying, yeah, but majority of men get screwed by this system. It's only a few women that actually get screwed by this system, but for the most part, it's men.
Well, and what really sucks for the minority, which is the women, not just because they are women, but I'm talking about divorce cases. They are the minority if they lose custody, because 90% of the time, the good mothers that the system puts the screws to, I personally think it's even harder on them than people like you and me, because when you and me get called a deadbeat, it's just like, well, yeah, I mean, it sucks. You know, I mean, they're full of crap, and I know that I'm not a deadbeat. But if a good mom gets the screws, it just doesn't happen. Not only does she have to deal with the alienation and the child support deal and try her best to explain the kids, on top of that, what did you do? I mean, moms, they always get possession. You must have done something extra bad if it happened to you. So that's the only reason for not calling myself a father's rights activist, even though, yes, I technically am. If what happens to me happens to any good mom out there, you can count on me. I will be on that mother's side the whole way. If the shoes are put on the other foot and it's the mom getting screwed and she's genuinely a good mom trying her best to be a mom, not be vindictive, not trying to wedge, just being a mom, count on me. You'll have my support. But, you know, like you yourself said, you've got women on your that support. They're on your channel, and I'm sure I'm willing to bet they're probably mothers. And if they're on your channel, they're probably good mothers.
Right, 100%. Either that or some infiltrators that's trying to support the baby mama terrorists. Yeah. I want to give a shout out to W. Afonso for the 499. He said, for the baby mama terrorist fund. Appreciate you, my brother. Now, what I want to ask you, let's go 4 years later. Now you got Parker 2.0. Now you got your son Blaine that's basically running away from home. What happened? How did it lead up to be Parker number 2 or 2.0?
They had moved to San Antonio, as you saw Parker say in Parker versus the Man 8 years ago. Again, other than being thrown in jail for those 2 different times for 60 days, I never missed a visitation. I took off work on every other Friday and drove to San Antonio, spent the night with the kids, or spent my weekend with the kids just to try to be a dad. And I'd usually drive back on Sundays, get in very late. As the years went by, I got more tired, and I would take off Mondays as well. That just means less money that I made. But obviously Blaine already knew what his brother went through, and they've got a brother in between them named Hayden. And Hayden just happens to be a little more of a quieter kid. You even heard her say that in the original Parker movie. Hayden's the more quiet kid. He just dealt with things, even bullshit, different than even his brothers or me. He just did it differently. But Blaine was not ignorant of the fact that Parker went through that thing. He knew his brother was on the internet. He knew Dad was an activist. And he also knew that Dad showed up. He may not even have agreed with me all the time on everything I did necessarily, but Dad showed up. And we went and did a lot of things, of which, looking back, I kind of wished I would have documented a little more of what we did together. At the same time, I didn't want their whole entire childhood to be consistent. All right, kids, y'all ready to go? Go on, kids, y'all ready? Come to Daddy. Oh, here's a nice shotgun. I didn't want it to be constantly that. I knew I had to document some, but anyway, Blaine just came in to being his own young man, and he asked to go live with Dad. Obviously, as you can imagine, the answer was a big fat no.
Hell no.
And so he got to the point where he was getting into he was hanging around with all I can say is sometimes questionable people. He did sleep in ditches. He would prefer sometimes, even in the heat of summer, sleep in ditches versus go home. And I felt terrible because the only place me as a field mechanic on diesel engines on drilling rigs could get the kind of money that I got was in West Texas. There's a little bit of drilling in other places, but even if I could do the work, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any contacts. And so all I knew was my son, even if he made a bad judgment call, which no one would fault a 14-year-old for making a bad judgment call. I mean, they're 14. They're not babies, but they're not completely grown. Even if he did make some bad judgment calls, that doesn't mean I'm just going to shut him out and tell him, fuck you, kid, you're on your own. I wouldn't do that at all. So I started making extra trips down there to come pick him up, feed him, give him some rest, give him some money. Sometimes I would have to figure out ways to cash out. His phone would get taken away religiously. Big shocker there. So I'd cash app his friends some money, and his friends and him would walk to the ATM and withdraw it. One or two times the cops were called on him. I can only guess who that was. And they would confiscate their cash. You know, it's just $200, but god dang, sometimes $200, especially if you're a 14-year-old kid stranded, that's a lot of money. Even for me at the time, that was still a lot of money. I just sent him $200 and they confiscate it, and you know good and well they'll never get it back. It gets lost in evidence or whatever. So he just started acting out basically. And so I drove there that fateful night, and I was there with the intention of please, I've already gone through this one. That's what I was trying to tell that ignorant, smart ass cop. I've already gone through this. He just needs his dad. I didn't just show up. I mean, I've done this before. I've always shown up for my kids. He just needs to be with me. That's what I tried to tell that asshole. And he'd already made up his mind, obviously, because he spent 20 minutes inside that house getting one side of the story. And as soon as I got where I wasn't answering his questions, fine, I'll tell you my name, date of birth. Okay, fine, I'll tell you my date of birth. Have you ever been arrested? Okay, that's a little invasive. I don't see it has to do with anything, but I'm not going to lie. Yes, I've been arrested. What for? And then when he asked me what for, I was like, I'm not stupid. You're trying to set me up to make it look like I'm worthy of your actions, and I'm not. And so that's when I decided I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And that's when he decided, well, screw you then. I'll just arrest your sons. How do you like that, bitch? And I told, you know, obviously I don't like that. I don't like being treated like that. That's literal slavery. To take someone, forcibly put them in that Nick's hospital, not once, but twice. Blaine spent his 14-year-old birthday locked up in Nick's hospital, being forced abilify against his will. And it crushed me. It crushed me to go. I went home. People say, well, you've come out, you were a drunk back then. Yeah, I was. Yeah, I got wasted all the time. Like that's how until it got to the point. That's how I went to sleep. I'm not saying it was the right decision to make, and I'm not saying I stayed drunk 24/7 because I didn't. You know, the thought of alcohol first thing in the morning just disgusted me. I was a functioning alcoholic, but when that happened, it hurt. you try to do anything to get rid of the heartache. You know, they say people do die of broken hearts, and I didn't die of a broken heart, but I think I got real close. I got real close.
So I got to go back to what you said. The police took the $200 off him.
Mm-hmm. According to Blaine. I mean, I don't see why he would lie about that.
Well, I believe that they known for taking money and confiscating your gun and everything else, and don't turn it in. Oh, no, they known for that. So that time we saw the beginning when the police officer. Well, no, you was talking to one of the police officers first, and the baby mama Terrence came out and said, "Well, I want to take the house because he's filming, and I don't want him to film me." Blah blah blah. Didn't they ask you to come in the house?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, one of them asked me if I was coming in, but he had just gotten there. He I assume, if I'm remembering correctly, I assume he didn't have any clue of what it was like. I wasn't going to step foot in that house, and I highly encourage young men going through this, as badly as you want to go in there and just snatch your boy up, they will get you. Anything can happen. She could take a frying pan and whack herself right before that cop shows up, and you're standing there looking like, shit, and that cop sees a bloody woman crying with a frying pan whacked to the head. Guess what's happening to you? If she says it happened, well, I saw what I saw. She was bleeding. I mean, she didn't hit herself. I'm not saying that happened to me, but I knew it was possible. Don't ever, 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 under any circumstances, go in your ex's house when invited like that. Ever.
100%. Where was Parker when all this was going on?
That particular day, let's see, he had just turned 18. I can't remember if he was in the house or not. I know Blaine was in the house, and I know London was in the house, but I can't remember. I think he was in the house, but I'm not for sure.
Okay.
There was 2 or 3 incidences similar to that all happened within just a few weeks of each other. At one point, I'd bought Blaine and Hayden phones. I'd snuck them in there, smuggled them. No, I don't deny it. I smuggled them in. And I taught them to keep them quiet, keep them on silent, keep them hid out in the green belt. I said, your mom doesn't allow it in the house. I wouldn't bring it in the house if I was you. But when you go to school, about by the bus, go get your phones and we can communicate. And that's how I learned about Snapchat, because the messages disappear. Well, at one point, Hayden's phone buzzed. He had it off, but it was still vibrating. And so basically she heard it, called over Jason and the enforcer, the simp enforcers, you call them.
Yes.
Right. And Hayden, being the kid that's more quiet, just trying not to stir up trouble. I'm sorry. And he handed it over. Blaine stood his ground. Said, Mom, I'm sorry. I know Daddy warned me not to bring it in, but it's Dad's phone. He gave it to me, and I promise I'll take it away. I won't bring it in, but you can't have the phone. It's Dad's property for me to use. And at one point, Jason, according to Blaine, picked up Blaine and said, let it go, and picked Blaine up by his backpack. And he said, Dad, he had me over his head. I was looking down his fucking head. And then he dropped me to the floor and wound up sitting on me. And it cut. I've still got the picture. He had a little cut on the inside of one of his hands. And he later ran to, I'm getting a little out of line here, but at one point, Jason, according to Parker and Blaine, had Blaine in a full Nelson. And Parker heard the commotion and ran up there and saw what was going on. And Blaine was like, let me go, fucking let me go. He was flailing back and forth to let me go. Parker, man, he manned up real quick at age 18, said, let him go. Let him go. He wouldn't do it. So Parker, according to Parker, grabbed him. And again, before I go any further, I don't mind talking about things from that period back. I just won't talk about anything from that period forward. But
Understandable.
that up to that point, I was going publicly and live, and everything was public, so I don't mind talking about it. But Parker went up and grabbed a cigar box and busted the hell out of him over Jason's head and knocked him to the ground.
That's good.
And he proceeded with a few choice words. I don't remember exactly what was said. It was basically, you get in your corner, you get in your corner, mom, what the fuck is going on? That type of reaction. After that, it got de-escalated, and I taught him, don't start a fight, but don't feel bad for not backing down. When you've de-escalated, stop. Don't take it further. Don't go grab the gun and go pow, 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 and just, then he turns into a whole new mess. Self-control. You've got to have self-control. And I think he did outstanding. Personally,
I do too.
De-escalate the situation, broke it up. Perfect. You did great, son. And yes, Parker, if you ever see this, son, I'm proud of you for that.
Hey, everybody put the ones in the comments for Parker. And shout out to Parker for looking out for his little brother. Yes, that's
Make
right.
a little chest just swell up.
That's right. It's good to have a father in your life, ain't it? That's what I'm talking about. See, when the civil forces do this,
Here I come to save the day.
then that's when the reaction comes to this.
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Yes. So yeah, shout out to Parker for that. That's what I'm talking about. That's good. And they say father's not important. But unfortunately, that's the night where they end up taking him to a psych ward.
Nix.
Yeah. Now I want to ask you this, because that cop was an idiot. The cop was an idiot. He didn't want to talk in the first place. He believed what the baby mama terrorist said. But did you realize when you asked him, did you have a father that gave a shit about you? Did you realize he did not answer that question? Did you realize he looked crazy? His eyes kind of got big. He got in a daze. He didn't know what to say.
Yeah, he didn't want to answer my question. He knew the game. He knew that I was on to him, and he knew that I knew that he was trying to get on to me. He knew he's an idiot, but he's not stupid.
Right, but I realized, to me, him not asking that question, because he answered everything else you asked. But when you asked him, did he have a father that gave a shit about him, he was shocked to hear it. I don't think he had a father. Yeah. He couldn't answer it because he didn't have a father that gave a shit. It's a difference. See, he didn't know how to have a father. He never dealt with a father that gave a shit about him. And he answered everything else you said with his smart ass answers, but he couldn't answer that. And I let everybody know. Look at his expression. Which way did he go?
Exactly.
This is why you got more civil forces than you have men. This is why you have more civil forces like Jason who take up for baby mama terrorists, because a lot of them did not have a father, because they was raised either by baby mama terrorists or their father would have to be a piece of shit. But majority is because they was raised through single mothering. You can't make this shit.
And that is exactly the root of the problem, and it is spurred by Title 4D. Admittedly, I didn't know. I did, but I didn't want to acknowledge Title 4D because it was too complex and it didn't make sense, and it was a mistake on my part. But that is part of the problem with so many. I think the majority of problems in the United States is fatherlessness. That's why I despise the war on drugs. I don't say go out and use drugs all the time, but especially with weed. I mean, come on. There's yes, there's women too, but there's so many fathers that are in prison over weed. Something that grows out of the ground. Like, it's so simple. You don't even have to do anything but just roll it up and smoke it. I mean,
Right.
personally, I don't like weed. It's just not my thing, but I understand that a lot of people do, which is fine. But what's worse, someone smoking weed or a whole entire generation of kids growing up without a dad because they're in jail over a stupid plant?
Right. I want to give a shout out to Kwame for the $5 cash. He said, as soon as I quit ducking child support, I'm gonna email you. LOL. Shout out to you, my brother. Yeah, whenever you're ready. So how long was your son Blaine at Nick's, the psych ward? I call it the psych ward.
It is a psych ward. About a week twice. He went in for a week, and then there was a week or two he was out, and then it happened again for another week.
Was that after when he went back again? Was it before you went there? Or was it after?
That video where the cops being a smartass, that was the first time he'd ever gone there. I'd never heard of Nick's. I didn't know what Nick's on Babcock was.
Okay.
So that was the first time. And then he was there for about a week. And then he got out for about a week or maybe two. It's been a few years. I don't think about it all the time. But he went in for another week. But then I found out in 2019-ish, I made a video where I just happened to be in town, and the boys are off with their friends. I thought, you know what, I'll just drive by Nick's just to give him the big red weenie. And so I did, and I got to film, and I think I went live on YouTube. YouTube live was no, it was Facebook. No, I'm sorry, it was live, but it was on Facebook. And I was walking around, and I figured it out. There was boards up, and then I looked it up when I got home. Sure enough, they went bankrupt. They lost like 1,000 employees, and I'm just proud beyond proud to have at least a little bit of the reason, a little bit of the drive on why they lost their asses. If I would have had the money and the oomph, the enough energy to do it, to sue the bastards for every penny they had, I would have sued them. I still want to sue them if I can. I don't know if I can, but I don't know that I've got the heart to go live through it all again. I sure don't have the money to hire an attorney.
Somebody asked, I don't know if you can answer, but they said, how's the kid's relationship with the mother now? Are you able to answer that?
No.
Okay.
No, I can't.
Unfortunately, because the told you declaration of discrimination and all that stuff. So yeah, he can't answer that question. Understandable. So let me ask you this. So Blaine ended up going twice to Nick's. Both them times, I'm assuming that the mother didn't tell you. Your son called and told you what was going on. She not called you one time to say your son ran away. He ain't been home. Did you know anything when he was running away and staying with the friends? Did she tell you? I understand he told you.
Oh yeah. The only time I ever found that out was through him.
Okay.
That was the only time I ever found that out.
And we know who called the police and everything, because remember she tried to arrest Parker, y'all. Remember she said, I would rather for Parker to go to jail than be with him. So of course she called the police and put him in Nick. And he put him in Nick instead of be with the father. She'd rather have him with a psych ward.
Well, that's the part that gets me, is he allegedly had dope on him. I guess it's safe to say now. I can only assume he meant marijuana, but I wasn't going to fall for his stupid trap.
That's what I assumed, it was marijuana.
What I don't get is they wanted to arrest him for drugs and put him in a hospital and put him on drugs.
Right. Right. That don't make no sense. Of course.
Just let him go with his dad. Even if I'm not the greatest person in the world, and I know that I'm not. I've made lots and lots of mistakes, but I'm his dad. I do have his best interests at heart more than anybody else on the planet. I'm his father. Of course, I'm going to take care of my son. That has always baffled me. Why in the world would you arrest a child for supposedly being on drugs, lock him up in a hospital, and put him on drugs? And on that, it's pharmaceutical drugs on top of that. It's not even just, I don't even think, personally, I don't even think weed is a drug. It's just a herb.
Let me ask you, I want to kind of backpedal. You dealt with this for 18 years and then some. How much money did you lose or spend when it came to child support and alimony, going back and forth to court? I estimate. I'm sure you don't know exactly how much, but I'm sure you spent a lot of money altogether with this bullshit.
Actual dollars spent, I would say it's got to be pushing 100,000. But to me, when you add in the opportunity costs, the days off work, the money that was taken from me that I could not invest in my own business at the time to make more money. I mean, a lot of my cousins, I can see that they're doing really, really well, and my family's all done really, really well. And financially, I'm not doing really, really well. You know, the opportunity costs, I think I should have been a millionaire by now. I should have a net worth of $1 million. I'm a hard worker. Right. I put in between 5,000 and 6,000 field jobs as a field mechanic, a self-employed or subcontract field mechanic in over a 25-year period. I mean, I made really, really good money. I should have a lot of it back. Yes, I did drink a lot of it. That's one of the big criticisms I get. Booze is expensive. And you're right, it is. Booze is extremely expensive. I don't doubt it. And I was wrong. And I just don't see why I still get lambasted for that. At least I'm honest about it.
They do that because anything to make you look bad, to make the mama look good. That's even if you didn't ever do no type of drinking, they would have said, well, you didn't fight hard enough. You should have spent $2 million, not $1 million.
Well, and like you always say, why should I have to fight at all? They're my kids. I should have to.
Right, 100%. I want to give a shout out to Ringside with LCD. He's from California. $20 donation. He said, thank you for allowing him to share his story. Many of us go through this same shit, but we overcome and walk around like everything is great. We made it and part of it. Hashtag fuck child support. Here's my donation for some furniture. Yeah, you know I need another couch. Couch gang. Shout out to my brother.
Well, I'm glad he brought that up, and thank you for that comment. That's another reason, as an activist with an activist heart, I don't do this just for me. Yeah, it started out that way.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm not the only one that gets screwed over. You're not the only one. We know, everybody knows somebody, but the men just don't talk about it, and it leads to, unfortunately, way too high suicide rates.
Oh, yes.
And part of my activism is showing that you can get through this. Don't give up, man. You're a beautiful, free, independent human being who owns yourself. Live it. Show it. Show your kids that you can make it through this. I'm not rich by any means, and my boat's not big, but I've got this this little tiny sailboat that I live on. It's only 29 feet long, but my kids are all grown, and it gets boring sometimes, and I don't have a lot of money, but it's fun. It's enjoyable. I get to float on the water every day, every night. It rocks me to sleep. During the winter months, doesn't cost any more money. I just sail out a couple miles and throw anchor and listen to birds and water and fish. And I don't listen to anything. I just relax. And
so you're not in Texas no more, right?
No, sir, not anymore.
So you moved.
Yes, November of last year, I bought this little boat, and I sold everything or gave away what little I had left, and bought this and everything I own right here. I don't even have a vehicle anymore. I've totally changed my entire life. I felt this need to shake it up. I gave my white field truck that you see in the Blaine protesting videos. I gave that to the boys a couple weeks ago. I drove back to Texas to see them on my 1-year anniversary of being sober. Mm-hmm. And I know what it was like. I know what it's like being that young and just trying to get a leg up in life. And they needed a vehicle, and so I gave it to them.
So you live on your boat?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what made you move from Texas all the way to Florida?
About a week after I got out of jail the second time, the long stint, somehow or another, I was on YouTube and I saw there's a YouTuber by the name of Louis Von Prague, and he's an Australian fella, and he eloped with his wife out of Washington State here in the United States. He sailed over there, picked her up, and they eloped and went off and crossed the Pacific. And he, every other day, he would hold up his phone and he'd go out on his little boat, which is, he had a West Sail 32. I've got a Bayfield 29. His boat was only 3 feet longer than mine. And he'd go out and he'd film for a couple minutes, and on about 3 weeks in, there's this point in the video, he says he's looking around and it's just nothing but water. And he goes, well, we've been at sea for 23 or 24 days and haven't seen another human being or any land. And I'm losing track of time. And I thought to myself right then, people live that way? Like, for real? And ever since I saw that, I always wanted to live on a tiny sailboat. And I told the kids ever since, like a lot, kids, look at this sailboat. Kids, look at this sailboat. As soon as you little shits are grown, daddy's going to buy a sailboat. And sure enough, that day came. I moved from Odessa to Conroe about 2 years ago and stayed there just to be finished raising them. And in that time, they magically just grew up. They got their own lives, their own friends, their own jobs, their own hobbies. It wasn't a shun towards me, and I didn't take it that way. They got busy. They had things they want to do, and I was glad. That's what I raised them to. I didn't want them to be clingy to dad. I wanted them to be strong men, and London to be a strong woman, grow up and be who she wants to be. You don't owe me anything. You don't have to worship me. I realized that they're grown now, and so I thought, well, y'all are on your own. I hate this. I hate Texas, but in particular, I hate West Texas and Conroe. And I just was looking online, and I happened to found right in the middle of COVID last year on yachtworld.com, I found this little boat. It was $11,000. They'd already cut down. They'd slashed it price in half or less. Nobody was buying sailboats back then. And I sold everything I had. I had a good month on YouTube. YouTube paid real well. And I found this little boat in Florida, and that's how I wound up with it.
Wow, no, that's what's up. Basically, what you did, you changed the laws of your mind and got yourself in order. Now,
Yes.
that's what we have to do. Now, I got to go back to what you said in the beginning of the interview. You said you lost your family. Elaborate on that when you say you lost your family. Is you talking about the family like your brothers, your sisters, your cousins? Who are you talking about when you say family?
I lost all of them. My family, nobody in my family, my parents, my sisters, my cousins, nobody had ever been arrested. Nobody had ever gone to jail. Nobody ever raised hell the way I did. A lot of them been divorced, not all of them, but some of them. And they just, like everybody else, and I'm not ashamed of that, they just went along with it because that's what most people do. I did for the longest time. But once the video went viral and people were telling me, that's when the video went viral and the criticism got real, and the big authorities like the Texas Rangers and the FBI started getting involved. That's when it got too real. And they're like, oh, well, Caleb, Caleb, back off. You're making too much. You're getting too loud out there. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? They're my kids. I don't care who finds out. Stop taking away my kids. Stop messing with my kids.
Now you telling me you said your parents, meaning your mother and father?
Yes, I'm pretty open about this. About 3 months after I got custody of Blaine, keep in mind, like I said, I had 27 people sitting on my side of the courtroom. I wasn't related, blood kin related to a single person in there. Not one family member showed up because I'd already humiliated them by going to jail. You're a lever, you don't go to jail, that sort of thing.
I gotta cut you off. I gotta ask, even though you went to jail for something you don't even know what you did, something you didn't do, as I'm concerned,
Yes.
they shun you because you went to jail, regardless of you getting lied on or basically what's the key word? You was basically lied on.
I was basically what?
Lied on. They just false allegations. You went to jail for false allegations.
Yes.
And your family decided to still walk away from you as if you did the crime.
Basically, yes. And come to find out, that's in a lot of cases, unfortunately, that's pretty normal. Because again, when you get the not just the family court stuff and the viralness of the videos, you get the Texas Rangers involved and the FBI involved, because there's an anonymous video that somebody made that to this day I have no idea who it was. They threatened the judge. I didn't condone it. I still don't condone it. I still don't know who did it. You know, it was like, hey, I appreciate you sticking up for me, but Jesus Christ, dude, you don't threaten a judge. That's a major felony. That's a major no-no. And when all that happened, it got everybody scared. And the powers that be, they know that. They know that you'll either break to your family's will and back off, or you won't, and they'll put you in jail.
Yeah, but I thought when it comes to being Christian or Baptist, God's supposed to be your your protector. So regardless,
That's what I thought.
well, that's like Jesus. Jesus sacrificed himself for the greater good. And I thought when you believe in something, you believe in God, so you risk your life for the greater good. So, but they cut you off when you got locked up.
Yeah, and speaking of Jesus, I'm not going to go off on a rant there, but the stories of Jesus, I think, are just awesome. Like, he was if the stories are true, I don't know if they are or not, but if they are true, he's one of the greatest, most awesome human beings ever. Certainly the most disobedient, civil disobedient, and the most famous activist. I mean, you just don't back then, especially, walk around saying, "Hey, I'm God." I mean, what would you and I think to walk around out in public and some guy say, "Hey, I'm God. I'm the son of God." On top of that, I mean, we'd think he's nuts. But for him to have his convictions, I'm convinced that I'm the son of God. Whether he was or wasn't, he was true to himself, and he said he talked about peacefulness and loving your enemy and turning the other cheek. He also threw a fit and overturned the money changers when the bankers got involved for, blasphemous behavior in his father's house. So I didn't mean to, like I said, I didn't mean to get off on a tear, but as far as
I wanted you to talk about it now, because people say that we're supposed to follow God's law and we're supposed to God first. So I'm understanding you go to jail for false imprisonment. That's what it is, false imprisonment. And they ran off to the sunset and cut you off.
Yeah, basically, yes.
You can't make this shit up, y'all. Now everything's basically over. Your kids older, grown. You still don't talk to your family.
Well, I won't talk to my father, but unfortunately, there's collateral damage there. About 3 months after I got custody of Blaine, there's some small things that I won't bore you with, but there wasn't any work. And there was some miscommunication that I've got my ideas of what happened, but I went and found some work because I just got my son. I've never had a 14-year-old full time, and I had to, it was at the end of August or the end of July, and school started in August. I'd never registered for school. I never got the opportunity. So I was having to take off work a lot to go do that. But then when work showed up, I was there, Johnny on the spot, when I could be there. Made it real clear I can be there for this, but I just got my son. I just got him. I have to go pick him up from school. And I got a text from my dad that he called the note on my truck. $7,500 he wanted for the truck. And in not so many words, I told him off and disowned him right then and there. Said, "Don't ever talk to me again, ever." He said, "Fine, I won't. Just pay me."
Oh. Wow.
That was the last I ever heard of it. And unfortunately, I can only assume my sisters and my mother sided with him, because I've not heard from any of them either. That's been 4 years.
I understand.
It sucks. It sucks a lot, because for 40 years of my life, all I ever wanted was the approval of my father. I'd have given anything. And my parents aren't even divorced. Or they weren't as of 4 years ago. They were still together then, and I still never got. I wanted that so bad, to my father to give a shit about me, to accept me. Yes, I'm weird. I know I'm a libertarian. Of course I'm weird. I'm agnostic on top of that. I'm like mega weird, especially in West Texas. There's not hardly any libertarians, and there's hardly any agnostic people there. And if you're both, you're just super weird. And I made it my mind when, especially after I got divorced, I wanted to give my own children what I never got and what I wanted. What I wanted for years, my entire life. I decided to give that to them the best I could. But once I disowned him, unfortunately, my sisters and my mother, I miss them dearly.
Mhm.
Like very much miss my parent, I don't miss my dad. I miss what could have been, I guess, but there's too much damage there. But my mom and my sisters, I miss them. I've got my opinions on some things there that I probably shouldn't get into because I just don't think it's fair to talk about certain things
I understand.
without them being here.
And this is why I tell y'all, sometimes you got to cut off ties with the people that's closest to you because, hey, they will go against you when you hit the fan, especially when it comes to child support and you fight for your rights. You'd be surprised at the ones who stand there and support you. Them people who ain't even your family members, they're not even your blood. So this is what I tell y'all about. I want to give a shout out to the Kosher Clinician for the $5 donation. He said, God is order, and God, Christ, man, woman, and children. Some of our women, and thank him, the great women utilize. Bible Al Carte. Shout out to you, my brother. Please subscribe to his page also. Licensed therapist from North Carolina. I heard you say you had custody of Blaine twice. You had custody of Blaine?
I was awarded custody of Blaine on July 21st, 2017 in the 446th District Court with Judge Sarah Kate Billingsley presiding.
How did you get custody of Blaine and not Parker? Because you see Parker went to court and said, I want to be with my dad. They told him, no, kick rock.
Well, apparently my little videos that went viral kind of put Odessa on the map in a negative way. At the time in 2017, when Blaine was doing all that, I wasn't aware of this. When Blaine was acting up, I just assumed, well, I hate to, but I guess I'm going to jail again because I knew I was going to get sued. I knew it'd be back in Odessa. I just assumed that's how it was going to be. But unbeknownst to me, between Parker and Blaine's things happening, the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, had appointed a brand new judgeship, not just a judge, but a family court, specific family court judge. And that's all Judge Billingsley hears. She doesn't hear criminal. She didn't hear any of that crap like Judge Whalen and Rex did. He formed that new judgeship and appointed Judge Billingsley to that spot. When I first got sued, I didn't know this till years later, but we were back in Judge Rex's court. It went to Judge Rex's court, and again, come to find out, he recused himself. So that's two judges I had recused themselves in my case over that period of time. And it was assigned, hang on, there's a train going by.
Okay.
It was assigned to Judge Billingsley. They asked if she wanted it. Obviously, she said yes. She made it very clear in court that, sorry about that, it gets kind of loud. She made it real clear in court. She sort of kind of knew my family in a way and sort of kind of knew her family in the way and said, if y'all want me to recuse myself, I don't mind. She gave us a few minutes to talk about it, and I don't have anything to lose. I didn't want Judge Rex. He already threw me in jail. I already knew he didn't like me. So I thought, what the hell? I don't have anything to lose. But then Judge Billingsley became our lawyer, and Judge Billingsley did what no other judge ever did that I'd ever even heard. It was like a fairy tale. All I'd ever wanted was just talk to my kids. Judge, Your Honor, just ask my children where they want to live. That's all I asked. Judge Billingsley took her robe off. She shut court down after we'd been there like 4 hours. She shut court down, took her robe off, and walked down in her Converse, her Chucks, and invited all 4 of my kids into her chamber and stayed there for almost 2 hours. It was dark outside before she came back out, got her robe back on, and she came out, and I'm having to be short on. It was a little more dramatic. I'm trying not to be too dramatic, but she complimented my children and how well behaved they are, and basically said, Parker's emancipated. He's already 18. Hayden and London have decided they want to live with their mom, but she said Blaine is going to live with his dad. And Mr. Leverett, I want to commend you, because when you were asked about your relationship with your son, I listened to your words, and everything. I was talking real fast. She made a kind of a joke. Everything you rattled on and on, or something like this, kind of funny, but it was true. I was rattling because it's easy. It's not. I don't have to have a script. You ask me anything about my kids growing up, I'll tell you it's right on the tip of my tongue, especially back then. But she said you described all 4 of your children perfectly. I've been in there for almost 2 hours with them, and not only are they well behaved, you obviously know them, and they obviously know you. And I want to commend you that. Of course, by then, Jesus Christ, you're not supposed to show emotion in court. Well, I'm like, trying to hold a straight face, but just fucking tears were just falling out of my face. And she said, the order of this court is, it's very late right now. We've never gone this late in court before. And Mr. Leverett, I understand that your son Hayden likes Starbucks coffees. Hereby this order of the court. Y'all can meet up tomorrow at noon at Starbucks. And Mr. Leverett, I order you to buy your son a Starbucks. Do you have a problem with that? I said, no, ma'am. I sure don't. And I just, God damn, I just fucking lost it. Oh, I lost it. And I get real worked up talking about it now. But that was the greatest day of my life. I thought when Parker came to live with me, it was wonderful, but it was official. A sitting judge did what I think all judges in this country should do. A sitting judge stopped the bullshit and talked to the kids for 2 hours. I've gone on other interviews before. I even went on a panel of judges. They've got this thing they host once a year where they listen to people like me in position. You can say whatever you want, and everyone's complaining about judges. I gave her props, and I told that chief judge, whoever he was, I can't remember his name now, she should be mandatory reading, mandatory studying for all family court judges to emulate across this country. And if a judge would actually take the time and get rid of the stupid money aspect out of it and listen to the kids on what truly is in the best interest of the kids, this country would turn around, and a lot of our problems, I think, would just melt away.
100%. Nah, that's what's up, man. Everybody put the ones up in the chat. Congratulating for getting custody of Blaine. That's what's up, man. Did you get sole custody or primary custody, or did you get?
No, I didn't. And I'm glad you brought that up. On that word, sole custody, that means one parent is with that child all the time, makes all the decision, and the parent gets 0. At no point ever in any time did any of my kids, or did either of the parents, get sole custody. That cop in Parker versus the Man that said, the lawyer just showed me, the judge said the mom has sole custody. I don't know if he was lied to, or if he forgot, or if he was simply misinformed, but she did not get sole custody of Parker. I still had joint custody, hence the reason I went and logged about 100 trips to San Antonio and back in a period of 3 years, every other weekend. So when I say in passing, I got full custody of Blaine. I won full cut. In passing, I'm guilty of saying that, but it's just it's a short way of saying I was awarded primary custody with the right to designate where the child lives.
Right.
But instead of saying all those words, I shorten it. I did not get sole custody. Mm-hmm. It's just a short way of saying that's how most people know. It's kind of like with the word child support. Oh, child support. It's easier just to say child support than, government extorted money from one family to you know what I mean?
Right. 100%.
So the award was Blaine's going to go live with his dad. I got primary custody with the right to designate his residence. And I was also awarded child support, be paid to me, which I did not ask for. I was shocked when I got it. And at the time, I had been going from Odessa again to San Antonio back and forth twice a month for 3 years. It was ordered that we meet halfway every time. That literally cut my driving in half. That had never happened before. So I gained a lot of leverage. And that is the only reason I was able to cash in and use that leverage to go to mediation. Once I got sole custody, we were ordered to go to mediation to sort out some of the differences there.
Yeah.
I used that to get rid of all of the back child support that I'd fallen behind on after getting thrown in jail and not having an income, that sort of thing. That's how I got that.
That's good. And I'm glad you said that, because I remember with the video with Parker, the baby mama Terry said you behind your child support. But at the end of the video, you had a paperwork from child support saying you don't owe no child support, no back child support.
Yes, if you watch the original Parker movie, and I'm accused of not paying child support, I already knew it was pointless to argue with her. I wasn't going to. What I wanted to say, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm current. But that's just hearsay, and I just wasn't going to argue. So when Parker versus the Man came out and he was ripped away from me, that second to last picture, if you watch it, like you said, I just got my statement from May of that year, and it showed a zero balance from then. He's governor now, Greg Abbott, but back then he was the attorney general. Letterhead from the attorney general, Greg Abbott's office, for me with my name and my P.O. box on there, and it showed I had a zero balance. I was current at the time. Yeah, it was only $970 something back then, but originally it was $2,625. I'd already gone to court several times, I forgot how many, and got it lowered to that just because I didn't have the money. I was broke. I didn't have the money to pay that crazy child support.
Right, man. So basically, she paying you child support, and you got to pay her child support. Basically,
say it again.
You was paying her child support, and she was paying you child support because you still had to pay for your younger children, right?
Again, I had one minor child. She had two. I had back child support. She had none. She owed me, and so therefore, again, I didn't ask for it. I didn't want child. I don't want your freaking money. Just I'll raise my kid, but I used it. Okay, I might owe you back child support, but if you're going to force my hand to pay back, I'm going to force your hand to pay current child support. Basically, it was just a wash.
I'm not mad at you. You did right. Yeah, you did right. You damn right. And like you say, you used to pay off your back child support. So good. I know she didn't like that.
I can't say on how someone else feels. I just don't know.
You can definitely imagine that. You can definitely imagine that.
I've got an imagination, but I can't say one way or another because I know better than to set myself up for potential libel or slanderous lawsuit. I'm not going to do that. But illusion.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm here. So I'm not gonna hold you no longer, but what I do want to say is I commend you for recording your whole, basically half of your life story when it came to child support, when it came for fighting for your rights, when it came to dealing with all this trials and tribulations of trying to be a father. Because back then it wasn't no YouTube live. It just started with a Facebook live. And you decided to record when people told you do not record. You decided to put this on social media when they told you not to put on social media. And it seemed like you lost a lot, but you also gained as well. I definitely appreciate you coming on here telling your story, and I appreciate you telling your story to the world, because a lot of people will still tell me this don't happen. This don't exist.
Yeah, they say it doesn't exist because they don't want to have it acknowledged it exists. They tell you not to record because it makes their job harder. They tell you not to give your opinions on things. Like I've told you earlier, I was told, don't release the Parker versus the Man video. And on top of that, particularly don't release the fact that Parker had just gone to a police accountability summit and got ideas from a controversial figure such as Bobby Seale. I didn't care what they thought. I was proud of my son for, I mean, he's like our elders. He's like been in the trenches. And the knowledge that not just Parker that I gained from it, you can't put a price tag on that. But he's controversial because it gets race involved and all the blah, blah, blah bullshit that the lawyers try to tell you to keep out of it. And I was like, no, I'm taking a stand on principle. Parker watched Bobby Seale. He learned from Bobby Seale in person. I'm proud of that. And I'm not going to hide it. So that's why I was sure not only to include the zero, God dang, that thing's loud. Not only to include the zero balance, but we got our picture of Bobby fucking Seale, man. And I threw it in there because I was proud of it.
Right. I saw that at the end. Yeah, just like they say, don't talk to him. He got a fuck child support hat on. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of people who would, who generally support me if they ever see this or when or if they see it, they'll be like, fuck child support. Oh my God, that guy's got a potty mouth. I can't believe you just said baby mama terrorist. Caleb Everett, what are you doing? You're just setting yourself up. Like, I don't see a problem. Man, speaking truth.
100%. Before you get off, can you let everybody know how they can subscribe to your channels and contact you as well? Because a lot of people want to know your channels, even though we put it out here. Just let them know how they can reach you and support and subscribe and everything else.
It's just all my social media is just my name, Caleb Everett. My YouTube, I'm on Twitter a little bit. I don't do much on Twitter. And I'm starting to get on Instagram. I've been on Facebook in years past, but Facebook is like a disease. It's got its own mind-sucking thing to it. That I'm on it still, but I don't post very much except about my own stuff. I don't really get into much on there. Most people ask how they can get a hold of the kids, and at the moment, none of my kids have social media for unspecified reasons that I can't talk about. Parker has got some things in the works. He could be on maybe TikTok soon, but he's not yet. And to my critics who always constantly say, well, why don't you interview your kids? Let them speak. If my children ever want to come on my channel or anybody else's channel or make their own channel and talk about what happened from their point of view, if they want to talk about their relationship with anybody and everybody else, they can do it. But I just don't talk about it. And so as far as following them, Parker used to have an Instagram, but he got tired of the noise. He's a horseman. He's a horse trainer. He found an elder man there at home where he lives that took him under his wing, and he's among the best of the best at horse trainers at what he does. So just look out for horses from Parker Leverett coming eventually.
Most definitely. Well, sir, I appreciate you coming on here. It's definitely a great but unfortunate situation, but it need to be heard for everybody to realize that this system is not about the best interests of the children. And also, this what happens when you go through a felon divorce or relationship and you got kids involved.
Well, thank you very much for having me on, and thank you in particular for your support. Like I said, when I watched your coverage of Parker versus the Man, I hadn't cried in years, and man, you brought it out of me, but it meant a lot. Your words meant a lot. Thank you very much. And I think you're right. We do have to change our minds and the laws in our minds. I think you're right. We have to get this attack on fathers gone. And I don't mean make it equal suffering for mothers. That's not at all what I mean. I don't think that's what you mean either. I mean, stop the attack on the family.
Right. But that's all it's doing is showing how
record. Your phone is your best friend, and keep your calm, bite your tongue. No matter what buttons they push, you know what buttons they can push. Just bite your tongue. Just let the camera talk. Let the camera do its thing. Cameras don't lie.
100%. Well, sir, I'll definitely be calling you behind the scenes, and I appreciate you telling your story, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Palmer. Take care.
All right, take care now. Talk to you. Man, this was one hell of a interview, one hell of a show. I'm glad y'all stayed tuned in. I apologize for a lot of the echoes, but hey, you know how it goes. It is what it is. But the good thing about it is y'all know how it really is. Not that you didn't know, but a lot of people will sit back and say this doesn't exist. A lot of people will say it only happens with black men complaining and whining about being fathers. It don't happen to the white man. It's just a particular community that goes through this. No, it don't make a difference. White, black, not Latino, blue, green. Don't care about your faith. Don't care about if you're a cop, not a cop. You know, I just want y'all to know that I will continue to do things like this because I'm gonna get my point across one way or another. While everybody else, like I say, talk about it when it's a hot topic of a certain celebrity or a basketball player, something like that, they get back to talking about something else. I'm gonna keep staying in my lane and continue to talk about what need to be exposed, which again is gender bias when it comes to this system. They don't care about your race or color. And when you go in there 9 times out of 10 as a man, you'll be set up for failure. And also, failing relationship and failing divorce is the reason why they run to the courts, because they know they can use that to set you up for failure, use your kids as kryptonites, and take your whole livelihood. You can't make this shit up. And also that your own family will turn their back on you when it's all said and done. You do not know who really got your back until shit hits the fan. As long as everything good with you, you got your money, you're successful, they're around. But when you fall on your ass, when you get some deep shit, when you really at an all-time low, that's when you know who your friends and family are. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. We're definitely gonna dialogue tomorrow. Shout out to Caleb once again. Shout out to his children. You just never know what a person's going through unless we speak up. And this is what I mean by we have to change the laws of our mind in order to make change. Because if not, you'll be the one that's set up for failure while the baby mama Taz continue to live her life like a king. So yeah, appreciate y'all to the fullest. Please share and please like and please continue to sub. I'm Mr. Palmer, and this conversation is over. Y'all know what it is. Fuck child support. Peace.
Baby mama terrorist. BMT. It's my baby mama. I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in cold. It's my baby mama. She be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies, and doing setups. It's my baby mama. I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in cold. It's my baby mama. She be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies, and doing setups. It's my baby mama. I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in cold. It's my baby mama. She be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies, and doing setups. It's my baby mama. I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in cold. It's my baby mama. She be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies, and doing setups.
Riding around, try to play the role, Miss Innocent with an evil soul. In public, wearing fake hellos. Behind closed doors, she rock them horns. I moved on, she wanna teach me a lesson. Can't see my kids, man, I'm stressing. Couldn't see my son to give me his present. She got married to teach me a lesson. Telling people she did nothing wrong. Knowing that well since I moved on. Thought that money would keep me home. Hell no, bitch, I'm gone. I don't know what you lost your mind. Try to say my name, but I know your kind. Saying I'm a deadbeat, bitch, you lying. Fighting in court, man, I'm trying to be a father to my kids. She focus on the wrong shit, worried about another being instead of us co-parenting. Put my kids in grown folks' business, telling them lies, bitch, you wicked. Split personality, oh yeah, you twisted. Never thought I'd go through this.
It's my baby mama. I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in cold. It's my baby mama. She be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies and doing setups. It's my baby mama. I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in coat. It's my baby mama. She be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies and doing setups. It's my baby mama. I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in coat. It's my baby mama. She be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies and doing setups. It's my baby mama. I'm on child support. Can't see my kids, so I stay in coat. It's my baby mama. She be riding Lexus, finding sugar daddies and doing setups.
Truth is what it is. Truth is what it is.
Shit.